What's up, world? Coach Kurt here with the Elvis Kelly Fight Team, doing another episode of two FMA-Nerds talking about stuff. So I'm going to bring on my homeboy, Markis Miranda. He's one of the great dudes that I met down at Water and Steel this year, down in Washington. He's part of the Worden Defense NSI community. Plus, he's an instructor in his own right with a whole amazing background. So I'm going to bring him on. We're just going to hang out today. You have the opportunity to spend some time with us before the Usher concert. Trust me, we'll be done before the Usher concert where people are playing soccer in the background. So we'll be fine. You'll be all right. So come hang out with us. Anyways, what's going on, brother?
The Usher concert while people are playing soccer in the background? Wow, bro. You're going to get all the hits from the NFL now. Just so you know. So what I've been calling it is Taylor Swift's boyfriend's playing today.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So, and then, real quick on that one, I actually made a comment. I think it makes people upset, but it is what it is. I was like, well, you know what? Kansas City is going to win because no one wants to make a Swiftie upset. So I feel like, hey, they're going to win, not because of just pure talent, but because no one wants a whole bunch of angry Swifties talking bad about the NFL.
Yep. Well, I mean, maybe it'll get demonetized. We'll find out. Anyways, so so Markis, this podcast is pretty straightforward. We just kind of hang out. This is an excuse for me to have a great conversation with a cool friend. If anybody watches, that's great. They get to join in. But honestly, this is a guilty pleasure of mine just to spend some time with a homie. So let's talk about, let's talk about the story of how you and I met, because that's a funny one.
So technically, I mean, how do you, which aspect are we talking? Are we talking the knife or are we talking the chicken?
All the above, because there's we have a mutual friend that did a setup.
There we go. Okay, we're gonna start there then. So, me and Kurt both know a gentleman by the name of, and excuse me for butchering his name, I want to say Paulo. Right? If I'm wrong, he's gonna punch me in the face one day, and I'm gonna just have to embrace that. But it's okay.
It's all good.
Paulo I told him I was here, and he said there's a guy named Kurt that's there. Tell him that he doesn't like black people. And that's what I heard about it. So I walk up to him. I walk up to Kurt, and I say, we're in the middle of a training session. Mind you, this is kind of like knife training. Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of like knife training. Walk up to a grown man, put my arm around him, and say, hey, I heard you don't like black people. Kurt busts up laughing. Because he was like, what are you talking about? So we had a whole conversation about it. That's when we broke out like, hey, the mutual friend was this person. That's what happened. And after that, it just went all downhill.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is what we're known for. I'm just saying.
That's right. So by the way, for those who have a question of my my bromance with the brothers, this is my brothers and sisters. See the little black boy down there? That's my middle brother Cornell. So just to clear some shit up. And on top of all that, this is my brother Charles, who my son is named after. So, I mean, question it all you want.
Yeah. Like I said, it was all in jest. We all know. I mean, come on now. Like, to be in this world and find yourself still not liking black people, that's a you problem. That's just, again, I thought it was hilarious. And he said, yeah, this would be an amazing joke on him. Hurry up and do it.
So what is great about situations like that, because it's the context of the situation, because where we're at is, like I said, we're in the instructor courses of it's an instructor course for instructors, like high level people. We all have some violence in our background. We all have been there and done some shit. So what is great about that kind of community and those kind of people is we're a little messed up in the head, for one. And just a little bit. And two, I mean, we have a better sense of humor because we've been there, done that. And so that breaks down barriers, just like the military does. Because we'll get into your background to talk about where some of this comes from. So just saying, people, you got to grow a thick skin, especially if you're going to be on the internet, especially if you're going to be around the people and the homies, and especially if you're going to be a martial artist, a professional one, you have to have a thick skin. So it's all good.
Yeah. And like he just said, it's literally in jest. You know, we know each other, whether we've talked, whether we've sparred together, trained together. And I hate to use the term and we'll probably discuss that today too.
Yeah,
is a martial artist knows another martial artist.
Yeah,
it's almost like in our community when it comes to firearms. We know the people who are carrying because we move different, we act different, we talk different, we dress different. You know, it's just literally who we are as individuals. We have the thick skin because literally it becomes, and again for the military, there's no racists in the fighting hole.
No.
There's no atheists in a fighting hole either. You could be a whole I don't believe in God, I don't believe in Jesus type person until a bullet goes over your head and you're like, oh my God.
You're praying to somebody. You're praying to somebody.
Yeah, you just said, oh my God. So unless you know something different, you know, and again, it's just one of those things. We know who we are. That's why we can joke like that. Okay. Like we know it's it's kind of funny. No, anyone ever heard of the show Naruto?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that show. Love that show. I'm catching up on Shippuden now. And one of the things happened where Naruto and Sasuke meet up for like the second or third time, and they touch fists. And they said a martial artist knows, it was like a rival or something like that knows what the other person is thinking by crossing fist.
Yep.
And he looked at him and said, do you know what I'm thinking? That is how that's how we know who we are and who we deal with. We touch. Like, hey, here we go. We're gonna do some sparring. We're gonna do some light sparring. We're gonna do some chi sao. We're gonna do something, and we're gonna understand each other that way. But it's still, no matter what, it's through touch.
You gotta touch hands. You just got to. I mean, this is the reason why it's a common phrase in our community. You gotta touch hands and share a meal because that's how you get to know a person. So, speaking of which, let's dial back, way back. Let's tell a story of who you are, where you come from, and how'd you get into this life.
Man, so I got into martial arts as a kid. I literally started martial arts when I was 5 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I've been training martial arts since I was 5, whether it be in a class, whether it be in a school, whether it be television. When I was growing up, we had this channel called Channel 66. Okay. Channel 66 showed all of the Samurai Sunday movies. Shinobi. That's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
I literally grew up on Samurai Sunday. So all the
yeah.
Hello. That's what I grew up on, bro.
I miss that. I miss that.
So I'm talking about, like, as a kid, made my first set of nunchucks, learned how to use them. Favorite movie still to this day was The Last Dragon. I embraced martial arts so much as a child. And then growing up, it was like, okay, I learned some stuff from my father. I started with capoeira, which was, and again, you don't see kids at the gym, so you got to find some way of building muscle and strength. So capoeira, you gotta do it. You got that going, and then I trained with a master. We call him Scorp, but I don't want to butcher his last name, but Harold Barrage, I want to say his last name. Trained with him as a young man, and I mean, to this day, he was the man I felt saved my life. Okay. I did a little bit of cage fighting while I was in the military. I can say that now because I'm out. but I only like to fight the best.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do was just fight the best. I didn't really care about championships. I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted to fight the best. And he talked to me. He's like, hey, I heard certain things about you. I was like, not me. What you talking about? And as he went into my background, he's like, yeah, I heard you've been in this, you've been doing that. And he was like, Muhammad Ali. And I stopped. And he's like, I want you to imagine the punishment that man took in the ring and the punishment you're willing to take just to fight the best.
Yep.
Do you really want to keep doing this? No, I don't. Not anymore. Because, I mean, when you look at, let's be realistic. When you look at a boxer is only taking punches.
Yep.
When you look at a UFC fighter or an MMA fighter, knees, kicks, elbows, punches, headbutts, headbutts are allowed, no?
Not anymore. I mean, maybe like Texas rules and old like no holds bar.
Right.
I know in Lethway, definitely.
Yeah. So it became I'm done trying to just fight the best, but now it becomes I'd rather travel and just learn from the best. You know, I don't have to get in the ring with everybody I meet to say, yeah, I want to see where's your might, where's your fight. You know, this is an old school, the Street Fighter. You know, kid, show me what you see in front of your fist. No, I can learn by being around other people.
Yeah.
You know, it makes more sense to learn and keep my wits and some of my good looks because, you know, kind of got some deviated septum stuff going on, a little bit damage to one of my eyes, but all in all, I came out pretty unscathed, you know?
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
Yeah. A lot of fun, though. A lot of fun.
Yeah. So what led you to the military? Because another common thread within our community, because we're a bunch of messed up children, a lot of us go into the military. Either because culture, because of social economic status, because of boredom, sometimes because of the lie of patriotism. That's a whole other rant. But what led you in the military? Because I mean, we're both veterans,
right. So it was a multitude of things. I did apply to college. I got accepted to multiple colleges, but it was some work I did when I was in high school that they said my credits wouldn't be accepted in one of the schools I wanted to go to. So when that happened, I was like, well, I did a lot of work in high school. I did a lot of college work in high school. And I was like, well, I busted my behind for this. And some of these credits, they were just not going to transfer because I took them too soon.
Yeah.
That was the BS I was told. That was back in 1999, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I can't. So I joined the military. Mind you, I went to Catholic schools my whole life. When I tell you a military recruiter at a Catholic school, dude, my school, I don't even know if military recruiters are allowed at my school anymore. I don't even know. So what happened? I got upset. I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'd rather do this. And of course, the recruiter spun his will of gold, as they all do. You know, much respect. I want to say the last name of mine was Ramirez, and again, he was out of the recruiting station next to Lane Tech in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
A lot of people who know what that is. Trust me, if they've been military, they know exactly what that recruiting station is. And literally, it was like a light bulb. I'm going to the military. I'm moving out the house. I want to be an independent man. And I signed up for the military at the age of 17.
Okay. Get
2
some.
weeks. 2 weeks before my 18th birthday.
Get some.
Just to prove a point to my mom. I was like, I'm out of here. You know, I want you to understand, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Joined the military, man. And, you know, I took the, what is it called? The delayed entry. So I kicked it all summer. I worked. I had fun. You know, went in. And it was, for me, I would say it was a life-changing experience, man.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to put it.
yeah, and that's where I always put it. And I'm talking about boot camp.
Yeah.
So for me, boot camp was a life-changing experience because when I was in boot camp, man, I met a guy, won't say his last name, but Texas gentleman who understood the N-word better than I did.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, just dropped it whenever he wanted to and everything else, man. And I mean, me and this dude, I wanted to beat the crap out of him every time I talked to him. And it was through training with him that he started to gain more respect for me and my skin tone.
Yep.
You know, what he was raised on, what he was taught. Our drill instructors were black. So this dude's culture shock was like, wait a minute. These aren't the people that I was told existed. These are educated people. These are articulate people. Damn, wait a minute. I wasn't taught this. Then, I kid you not, the Crucible, which is our like 3 or 4 day hike through everything, limited rations and everything else, shared a meal with him because he lost his food, helped him and one of my other buddies up the mountain that we have to climb at the end, the Reaper. And I'm talking about I went up and I came back to get people. And he was one of them, and one of my buddies that we are longtime friends from high school. I helped him too. And I mean, that moment, my man just like, this is a word I can't use anymore.
Nope.
Like, I know people who aren't this, you know, and I was like, man. But of course, the whole military experience, career experience, we're not going to go there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
So this is pre 9/11, yeah?
This was pre 9/11. But let me phrase that. When I got in, it was pre 9/11.
Yeah.
Once I was in, it was 9/11.
Yeah.
So 2001, 9/11 happens. Okay. You know, there's always this thing where people are like, where were you when the towers got hit? I was serving.
I was in high school.
You see what I mean? So you're in high school watching a news report. We're dressed in our uniform, our camouflage utilities, watching a news report. And I'm telling you, man, I was working on we call them vans, but they're like big metal constructed boxes that we just put communications equipment and other stuff in. And we're sitting there, man. We're working on something, and someone comes out and they're like, yo, the Twin Towers got hit. Yeah, right. No, that's not physically possible. I'm like, what? And this is like, to this day, this is why it's buried in my head. I made a comment like, what, was the pilot blind?
Yeah.
Because it sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
So what happens is, first tower gets hit, we run in, we look at the television. It's a reality.
Yep.
So got in under Clinton, got out, I think, under Bush.
Okay.
And the crazy part, and again, a small story about the whole military thing, was so my mom signed on the dotted line for me. Okay, let's make sure we all remember that. My mom signed on the dotted line for me because I asked her to. I go to boot camp, finish boot camp, and for us, we had a family day where they come out the first night and we have dinner together.
Yep.
And then the second day is like a day we walking around the base in our uniform with our families and everything else. And it's over. Graduation time. You know what I mean? In this conversation, my mother says, I didn't want to stop you from this, but my first love was a Marine who died.
Yeah.
Lady, why didn't you tell me that before I signed up?
You got to be your own man. That's
exactly.
You got to be your own man.
So what happens? 9/11 happens.
Yep.
And it freaks my mother completely the crap out. Yes, I went overseas. Yes, I served. We call it, some of us who know the term, we served in Iraqistan. And it was one of those realities that hit her like, well, wait a minute. You went in and there was no sign of war. And now there's a war.
Yeah.
So when you look at that aspect, the strength of my mother to tolerate, not only did she lose her first love in a war, but now her son's going to war.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's some heavy shit.
It is, bro.
I didn't get in until 2005. So, I mean, we were already at war. So,
2005?
Yeah. But I stuck around for 11 years. And
Right.
yeah, it's an experience. And I mean, the fact is, we have a whole generation that's just so, I mean, it's life thereafter is really what it is. We are so affected from it. And talk about shared suffering, because the story about you and your Texas friend in basic training, we also, with all the suffering that we've gone through for 20 years of war, we have a generation that's gone through immense amount of trauma, not just in service, but everybody around them. But that shared experience has created some very strong bonds through shared suffering. So there's something to be said about the power of suffering, because pain, it has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to find a peaceful path and do something with that, and hopefully it becomes something passionate. Because at the end, I mean, you could stay in a victim mentality and stay there for a long time, or you could get up off your ass and do something about it and use it as fuel. And yeah, you can use it like violent fuel and aggression, but once you get to the other side with like love, passion, then it becomes like this beautiful thing. So, and I'm grateful for the people who have gotten there, and I feel for those who are still stuck there. But like I said, shared suffering, it has a purpose.
Yeah.
So
it totally does. And I think, and you know, I think there's a mental health component that we avoid in the United States. You know, I feel that we allow a lot of behavior. Okay. Now, I won't go into that other side of the house because then you will get your podcast banned, but we're going to stick strictly to the military and mental health. So the way I saw it was this, man. This is just the way I've evaluated. When it came to wars prior to airplane travel, okay, where people had the opportunity to ride back on the boat and converse about their experiences,
decompress,
and you know, what did you call it?
Decompress
what they just went through. Where now we're a 27-hour, I want to say 27 hours. We're a 27-hour plane ride from war to home. So we have 27 hours, if that, to decompress, and then we're just let back to our families and our loved ones. Yeah. Where, in my opinion, I feel, and again, there's going to be some, well, no. I feel that you should be evaluated before you go back to your family.
Yeah, because you've been there, done some shit, seen some shit. You're going to be adjusted. Just experience will change you regardless.
Yes. And I feel that, yeah, should there be a time limit on it? Sure. Make a time limit on it, but it still needs to be had. Don't get me wrong. We all love those videos where you see the person get off the plane or get off the bus and it's like, oh my God, this is one. Dude, it sounds amazing. It looks amazing for television.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I was asked when I first came back and visited home, dude, how many people did you kill?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? That's not stuff you ask people.
No.
And I feel like it should be something where the family is taught and the military member is decompressed. So that way, hey, we know what not to ask them, but we also understand where the questions are coming from.
Yep.
Well, it's that give and take.
But you gotta learn to come home, because they taught us how to go. They taught us how to be there, but they didn't teach us and our family unit how to come home. Wow. Nope. They wrapped it up in the flag, got some great Toby Keith music out of it. But the fact is, learning to come home there and life after that's a whole other skill set, because just like combat sports, combat, military, martial, and competitive martial arts, that has a time limit. There's only so much that your brain, your body, and your soul can take on that. but if you want to pursue life thereafter, because you don't want to lose the skill sets, because there's a lot of guys and gals coming out of the military who lose purpose, lose sense of being, lose sense of community, and feel like because none of their skills transfer, that all that is a waste. Because I've been there, but there's a lot of skills that do transfer if you just change your mindset and find, like, leadership, for example, is a direct correlating skill from the military to business. Not saying like the drill sergeant approach to leadership, but the ability to have a written policy, have an intent behind it, execution of a plan, present problems and find solutions to it, delegation of authority, which is also decentralized command. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that transfer, like accountability of crap. Okay. Inventory. I mean, that is like the number one thing you learn is inventory management. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that does transfer. People think like the combat stuff is what's the forefront, because I mean, we are a profession of arms, but there's so much more to it. And the process of learning to come home historically, because I'm taking a history of war class, a big thing about warfare is in the tribal sense, in the historical pre-nation state sense, is you see in these indigenous tribes that coming home is a process that is a tribal process where, one, they have time to decompress, two, they have a time to celebrate what they did and what they accomplished, speak out their fears, speak out their excitements, and go through that whole process, that journey of telling their story in front of the tribe. And then the tribe thanks them and brings them in and heals them thereafter. Whether it's ascending the mountain and then descending it, whether it's going into the labyrinth and coming back out to deposit your soul, your sense of being prior to going to war, then you got to find that and bring it back. There is a process of reintegration that occurred that is not just the warrior alone and coming back. It was a whole community effort. And as interconnected as we are in 2024, we're still very isolated. There's a strong sense of isolation, even though, I mean, we spent 20 years at war, and we need to do better at it as a community. I think in certain sectors we are. And a big way that I have found is through martial arts, because that is a direct correlation to the tribal community that we came before, where we enjoy the suffering. That's why we're here. And we can find the beauty thereafter, the purpose thereafter behind all that suffering. It's why, I mean, I use the phrase why we fight, and why we fight changes throughout our life, but in the basis of it, why we fight is based out of love, because love of what we do, love of sacrifice for those that we love. And it's just that can carry us versus like, I have to do this because this conditional love set of identity and purpose and all those things. It's just, you can be so much thereafter, just like the military, you can be so much thereafter. So one last bit on the military. Where'd you go to basic?
Oh, so my basic was in Cali.
Oh, Pendleton.
Mm-hmm.
I spent many a summer there as a child.
Oh, San Diego or Pendleton?
Oceanside, then
Oceanside.
Pendleton. So
Okay.
a lot of my family's based out of Oceanside, but I spent a lot of summer camps at Pendleton. So because it's just right there.
And here's a question too. You mentioned that you're in that class. Does it talk about, and again, this is just, again, my thought process. Does it talk about how war regressed, not progressed?
We might be getting there. And with that point, because we're going from a historical analytical process about the history of war, and then discussing the bigger picture, and then the smaller, and there's a lot of big concepts. But me as a veteran, a GWAT veteran, I make it a point that I'm going to bring up these smaller concepts that aren't talked about at an intellectual level, because there's a serious disconnect from the academic intellectual level and then the lived in experiences, and making sure that there's some advocacy for our community. I make it a point to talk about it in our class, because we have a Socratic approach, which is the best kind of learning anyways, as we get to discuss about stuff. So the things I bring up is like, here's the cares and concerns, because we have a lot of data and a lot of experience these past 20 years. So we can talk about, war has progressed technologically. but it has regressed on the social level, especially coming thereafter, and the care for the warfighter and their community thereafter.
Yeah, and the reason why I say it that way is that if you look at how warfare was face to face, then it became arrows, then it became gunpowder, then it became cannons, then it became missiles, so to speak. We created and that's why the reason why I say regress is because we don't see our enemies face to face anymore.
Now we got robots fighting robots because we're seeing that in Ukraine.
We're damn near there, right? And it doesn't. And for me, that's why I say it's a regression, because I feel that if there was more face to face, we would have less.
Yeah, the human cost.
Because again, we got to. If you don't see the cost, you're not face to face with the enemy anymore. You know, that's why if you even look at the progression. Now, this we can talk about progression. The progression of weapons. You know, why did certain things have a sharper edge versus a sharp point? You know, well, it's fearful to slash because I can get you to slash more than I can get you to thrust. Why? Because I want you to understand that I can dehumanize you by making you understand that a pointed object requires you to actually stab someone where I can accidentally cut you. As long as I go,
Yep.
You know, even certain military functions actually put heads on targets, like physical things that have like fluid in them, so you understand and dehumanize what you're doing. It's like, hey, wait a minute, make sure you understand that this is what you're doing and why. You know, and it's always, and again, that could literally be another whole podcast. I kid you not. We talk about dehumanizing the individual to make them understand war. You know, like when like one of the things I love hearing is, I fought for this country. No, you didn't.
No, you fought for the corporations is what you did.
I wouldn't even say that. And the only reason why I say that is because for me, it's the people to your left and right.
Yes.
You're fighting for.
I used to say in a big social political scale.
Oh yeah, political with oil and gold and other bull. It's natural resources,
military industrial complex, and like I wrap it up in the lie of patriotism, but that's a whole other podcast. But yeah, you're saying on your point.
Yeah, so that's why I said that, again, that could be a whole nother one, because I'm telling you now, that's just insanity to me. I'm like, well, when you're, and again, I'm not saying from experience. I'm not saying not from experience. I will say this: the person to your left and right is the most important thing to you when you're overseas fighting a war. No one is shooting a gun screaming, America, yeah. I can't say the word. You know what I'm saying? Right? No one's screaming that while they're shooting. If you're really in the crap, again, using our words, if you're in the crap and you're just throwing rounds down range, you okay? Yeah, you know the man? Yeah, you good? Okay, cool. Let's keep it going. And we're gonna get home, right? Yeah. You okay? You good? Yeah. How you doing? All right, cool. Mag, I need a medic. We're communicating with each other. None of us are screaming, America. Yeah. No one's doing that. So when I hear people scream, I fought for this country, I'm like, you were really brainwashed, huh? Yeah. And again, I know I'm gonna get some hits on this, where someone's gonna say, "Oh, well, he don't know what the hell." Dude, I served, and I'm gonna tell you now, nothing in my brain housing group. Yes, it was about going home, wanting to make it out safely, but to think of your own self, not the people to your left and right. That's a selfishness. Then I'm like, if you got that only in your brain, not the person to your left and right, you can give a damn about them, you didn't serve. Because I'm sorry, there's a brotherhood and sisterhood in serving that most people will never understand. Yeah, you have your sororities, you have your fraternities, and I don't take away from that. But people living miserably
Shared suffering.
Shared suffering. You're not going to find a bond stronger than that.
Nope.
It's almost like when we talk crap about each other. We're different forces. The Marines talk crap about everybody. Everyone talks crap about the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force. Everyone has something to say. But let you be outside of one of those forces, we'll all jump you.
Yep.
But we'll talk about each other, and there's no violence necessary because we all served.
Yep. I'll bring you a box of crayons every time.
Exactly. Just like, I forgot, you were Army, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I ain't got much to say to you. So this, I take the crayons. I mean, y'all don't really have anything you're known for.
No, we don't.
Unlike the Navy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all like, Army strong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, point being, shared suffering brings people together and breaks down barriers. And talking about presentness, because when you're engaged at high level violence with a team, that is like the epitome of presentness, because you're not worried about all the extraneous. Did I leave the stove on? Dear Johnny, I wonder what Taylor Swift is doing. Like, you are so stuck in that moment with those beside you and what is in front of you. That is the epitome of presentness. Just like in combat sports, you can't really think about anything else when you get punched in the face. You have to be here now. And there's a disconnect for people who have not done those things, have not faced adversity at that scale. I'm not saying people, I mean, yes, I am saying people should face adversity, because that's how you develop resiliency. That's how you develop a growth mindset. That's how you build empathy. So yeah, go face adversity. But not everybody's going to go face all like the deep end of adversity, because a lot of people just don't make it in the end of that. But people should face adversity to like really define and discover who they are, and test their beliefs and test their resolve, and also have a ability to communicate intelligently the difference between fear of, pain, trauma, injury, discomfort. And the only way you do that is having faced and done difficult things consistently. So there's something to be said about that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
Definitely, man. And it's almost like having a person, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. We always talk about how getting punched in the face, and you kind of hit on it, which was, hey, adversity. Dude, have you ever been punched in the face?
Quite a bit.
And if you've ever been punched in the face, you realize that your next thought through your head is, let's not let that happen again. You know what? Mike Tyson even said it. Everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. Yep. And it's that first.
Okay. Okay.
I'm here. That just happened. Think about it. What's one of the first things that happens when someone's unconscious in a movie?
They ask where they were at. Yep. And they get
slapped.
Slap
them awake.
Yep.
It's a hit in the face.
Yep.
No one's coming out with smelling salts. No. That's bull. No one walks around with smelling salts. Someone passed out, they go unconscious, you smack them in the face. It's like, yo, it's that wake up. And I feel that we have enough people in this world who've never been punched in the face, which is why they have the mouths that they have. There are certain countries, and I won't mention, that I feel if we took a lesson from them, holy crap, because we live in such a litigious society, people say whatever they want without fear of consequence until you meet the person who doesn't care about consequence.
It's the fear of violence, because the fact is, freedom of speech does not mean it's freedom of consequence or freedom from consequence. Because the fact is, I mean, the way we grew up, both in our communities and also just the time period of which we grew up, we could engage in a certain level of violence, and therefore the mindset of you don't say things or do things that result in violence to you or others. It's the whole why is a warrior polite? It's because they don't want a blade drawn on them.
he just he just made me think of something. I was drinking and almost choked myself thinking about it.
Yeah.
My mother used to say this term: don't let your mouth write a check that your behind can't cash. And of course, I'm being good with the language because podcast. But I'm like, think about that concept. Don't let your mouth write a check that your behind can't cash.
Mm-hmm.
Watch your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Most videos you see on YouTube or snippets of on Facebook and Instagram is some level of violence because either A, the person wasn't ready for it, or B, the person caused it and didn't think something was going to happen.
Yep.
And it's like you're looking at how we train.
Yep.
We train for violence.
Yep.
But we're the most peaceful people you will meet. If you think about it, we're pacifists.
Mm-hmm.
We're pacifists who know how to use violence.
Yep.
You know, we don't walk around with our knives flailing and just trying to cut people. We're not doing that stuff. We're not walking around with guns out talking about some, I can't wait for someone to say something. Or, hey, Reggie. Yeah, Reggie, you know what I'm saying, Reggie? You know, you make love to a man, you know. But we're not doing that stuff. You know, we're not doing that stuff because that's not who we are as warriors, as fighters, as whatever you want to call yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, I love the term knife fighter. I'm like, I love that term. I'm like, oh my God, that is so adorable. You've really been in a knife fight? Can I see your scars? Well, no, then you're not one. And don't call yourself that. No one's ever been proud to be called themselves a knife fighter who's been in a real knife fight.
Nah, it's dumb.
So words have meaning. Words have power.
Yes.
So when I hear these terms, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Like MMA fighter. Yes. You fought in an MMA style fight or tournament. Understood. Karate fighter. Yeah, you've done that. I understand it completely. Gunfighter. Once again, not something people will go around like, yeah, I've been in about 1,000 gunfights, and you know, I've been in 1 million gunfights. You know what I mean? That's a million. I've been in over 1 million gunfights. Want to know how? I see it on the television, on the news. No, on the news.
Okay.
On the news. And I'm like, I avoided that gunfight because my ass wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I'm a gunfighter because I've seen it on television, on the news, and I've made myself not available to craziness.
Yeah.
So I've been in those gunfights. I'm like, damn, I wouldn't have been there. I wasn't. Like when we talk about knife defense, my best knife defense is how fast can I get the hell away from you?
Well, you can run pretty fast, pretty far, because I'm not going to run very fast or very far.
Right.
So,
but honestly, gift of gab.
You
know, I teach de-escalation. I love de-escalation. I literally placate to people because I don't care enough about you to get into a fight or an argument.
Yep.
Yes, no problem. You're right. I think you were there when I even made the comment in Washington when I'm like, I've been called some of the best names, sober and drunk, and I still placate. I don't care enough to get into an altercation with you to do all the handy and knifey and shooty. I don't care enough.
Yep.
I don't.
Well, you got so much more to live for because I mean, you have your life to live for.
Yes.
Because
my family loves me somewhat.
Yeah.
There might be some people here and there, but yeah, my family loves me, you know.
And that's the thing, have a thick skin, because like the other skill sets intrinsic to just what we do professionally and personally, it's just on a very personal level. And we're going to dive into some real shit. You and I, not being white people, we've had to develop some social skills, like in the language of which we are currently speaking, because you and I both code switch because we're doing it right now. And that's a survival mechanism. It's a good survival mechanism, and it's appropriate for professional speech. And for a lot of people who don't have that frame of reference, they don't understand it, which is okay. But you have to be adaptable. You have to be the chameleon. You have to be approachable to break down those preconceived notions and to create bonds and to create empathy. But if people don't know, they don't know because it's not their lived-in experience, which is okay.
Yeah, like some people have to learn to adapt, while others don't understand adaptability because their generation or their I would say generation or their family doesn't have to adapt. You know, it's like I said, that whole military thing, suffering. We all understand it because we weren't given that silver spoon. We weren't born into money. You know, the average person does not just all of us. Like I had a buddy of mine who's, I think his aunt died and he ended up having a lot of money.
Okay.
While in the military.
Okay.
So when I say this dude had a different Corvette almost every other week, bruh did. And I was like, damn, why would you still stay in then? Oh, because I love this.
Okay.
Because, you know, we could buy, because again, a lot of people don't know, is that if you have the money, you can buy out your contract.
Yep.
And it's like this dude had the money to buy out at least with what he earned, what he got in his auntie's death. I would say at least 7 to 8 4-year contracts.
Okay.
And I'm talking about 7 to 8 4-year contracts in 2002. So whatever that would have been the amount of, and I'm talking about like maybe, 4-year contract. Dude made money. Dude got a lot of money from the auntie.
Yep.
But it was because he loved it that he stayed. And that's the whole thing when it comes to the military. You like it, you don't like it, or you love it.
Yep.
You know, it's like anything else. But that suffering is what makes us stronger. You know, again, I'm not saying that everyone should, you should struggle to become strong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But have you ever seen a sword made lazily?
No.
And if it is made quite lazily,
it's going to break.
It's going to break. So if you pamper the sword, you're going to get a flimsy, crazy, non-really fightable, if that's a word, metal. Versus the forge of that sword made it stronger. You know, like you introduced, we met at Warden's camp. Warden's camp.
Awesome. Which is awesome.
It is 3 days of in your face. Let's train. Let's touch. Let's condition. Let's get this in. 3 days of that.
Dude, my brain was so exhausted. It wasn't so much physical. It's just like the amount of input and that high level intellect. It's just like it took me months to decompress. It's just which is why when you were there, you saw a lot of notebooks. People, like I have so many notes on my phone, it's ridiculous because luckily my phone has a pen and I just write stuff down. But it's literally, it takes that beating of the brain, so to speak. That your brain takes hits through the whole weekend because you're listening to one thing, then a new thing comes over here, the new thing comes over here, new thing comes over here. It's like, well, wait a minute. I'm getting so much input from so many people from all different walks of life. And it's literally one of the most amazing things I've ever been to that I had the pleasure of going to and being invited to. You know, we both got our level 1 instructor that weekend. I wasn't really expecting it. So, I mean, it is what it is. I was like, wow, okay, we're here. Yeah.
But, you know, it's still that someone saw in us that we have struggled, we have learned, and we have taught from our struggles what we learned. We wasn't given that, you know.
No.
That was earned. And I feel that, in my opinion, something tastes better when it's earned, not given.
That is correct. And it's the whole to grow is to experience. Because at the end of all things, when you stand in front of whomever, whatever, the summation of your life, it's based upon your experiences. What you did is what defines, not what you didn't do. Because you don't want to be a man or woman unfulfilled. You want to be somebody who has voided the warranty a long time ago, worn everything out, bounce that check at the end, because you have one life to live. So why not live it all? The good, the bad, the ugly. It's not so much you have good or bad. You just have teachers. And that's that growth mindset.
Yeah. And think about how if you even look at how laws are written, okay? I would say the middle class and lower laws are written a lot stricter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you look at a law, excuse me, I want to say it's a defense called, is it affluenza?
Affluence?
Yeah, I want to say it's affluenza. It's like literally you've never been exposed to what's right or wrong based on the fact that you've never had to experience it because you were born rich. Like I almost look, I don't want to placate. I don't want to not placate. Excuse me. I don't want to give the wrong definition, but I want to say it's affluenza. But look at that one thing. Oh, did you pull it up?
You have affluence, which is a state of having a great deal of money or wealth. Now,
that's
what is
literally in the law?
Yeah,
that a person can use that as a defense. So, and I think, and again, I want to say he was 16 years old, and I think he got away with it. I think he did get away with it. And this was years ago. 16 years old, drinking, driving, and on some type of pills or drugs. These people on the side of the road helping this woman, I want to say, change a tire. He killed all three of them. Defense was affluenza.
Yep. Privilege. The privilege. Yeah.
So
yeah.
So in my opinion, the jail time would have been the struggle of him understanding right and wrong and doing what's necessary. But you already bought your way out of it.
Yep. And this is the importance of why you have to start with struggle early in life, so you don't suffer late in life. Because people who come into the struggle late in life, because they've had everything pampered to them early in life, they are miserable people to everybody around them later in life. Because there's just this ripple effect that occurs from their indecision and poor decisions. And you learn to make better decisions in the beginning, having faced the consequences of your bad decisions. At least that's in theory there.
Right. Like something that, and then now we can touch on it now because I brought it up earlier, was the term martial arts. I stopped calling myself a martial artist a long time ago because when I look at what a martial artist is now, what I've seen is a lot of people who get paid to pass out belts and certifications.
Yes.
So when I see martial arts, I'm like, and it's just me. It's internally me. Okay. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. This is my opinion. This isn't an opinion of Kurt. This isn't an opinion of anyone else I've been around. This is my opinion. Okay. I don't like the term martial arts anymore because of what it's become. I've seen like 9-year-olds who are black belts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, based on what? What was your system based on when I can see a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old as a black belt? What was it based on? And I'm not saying that it's not, I don't know. Like I would say in the United States, I don't know if that's possible. In other countries, when literally your curriculum is martial arts, you have your math, science, and martial arts every day. That's different in different countries. I don't know if the United States has that.
That warrior culture, unless you're in a certain social economic level, but it's not structured curriculum, because that's a whole other subject about resiliency and growth, because it just is. Because like the people who go into the military, go into combat sports professionally, we all kind of come from a very similar background. There's a few that come from privilege and affluence, but the majority, we all came from a certain level of social economic struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it just becomes that, you know, can I trust your system?
mm-hmm.
You know, can I trust that I'm coming to you, I'm going to learn something genuine? Like I've seen like jujitsu schools where you got people who've been here for like 10 years that are blue belts. I'm like, damn, 10 years and you're just a blue belt? They're like, hey, you have no idea what the struggle is.
Yep.
I can understand that now because of the word you just used, the struggle. It's not something I passed up because I had enough money. You know, like I really want to get into jiu-jitsu to learn more about it. I went to a school that I won't mention, and it was on the first day. I kid you not. I bought my wife would tell you, I bought a uniform and everything. Okay. Because I was like, hey, I'm interested. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. This is what I plan on doing. Okay. I go. I know very little about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I say extremely little, I'm even being nice with saying little. Okay. I know how to pummel somewhat. I know arm bar because I've seen it on television. I learned arm bar was also in the military because the Marine Corps had the Marine Corps martial art program, MCMAP. We had that. So I learned some of that stuff too. And he puts me up against a white belt, which I understand, which you should. I'm a white belt. He's a white belt. And the guy, no, I'm sorry, he was a yellow or purple, something like that. And the guy, we're doing the tussle. Okay, I call it the tussle. I don't know what it's really called, but we're doing the tussle. Okay, and the guy is trying to do all this stuff that he learned, and he gets frustrated. He asks the instructor, "Hey, can you come over here? I can't do anything with this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't do anything with him. I'm trying and this, that, and the other, but none of the stuff I know is working on him." So the instructor pulls me up, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna do some techniques here and there." And I'm going to show you, you know, with someone his size and things like that. And the instructor just goes into it. He didn't talk to me and ask me, hey, what's my level? What am I doing? This is like your first class, your second class, nothing. He just goes into whatever thing he's trying to do. And whatever he's doing isn't working.
Yep.
So now he's trying to do all the grips, the grabs, and everything else. And I'm just moving and flowing because I don't know what I'm doing, but I just know I don't want your hand there. I don't want your arm over here. I don't want your shoulder over there. I don't want your leg right here. So it was just me just going with it. And he's like, man, cooperate with me. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. That is what I'm trying to tell you. That is why I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing. If there's terms and names for this stuff, tell me. But it's that understanding as an instructor, hey, you're coming into my class. What is it that you want to get out of this class? And I will see if I can provide that to you within whatever little time frame I have. Okay. But for you to try to exhibit on me what you think is going to work on me and it's not working, and you're the instructor, I'm like, should you be the one teaching me this if the most important thing to you was to flex in front of the students?
Yep, that's some ego shit. That's what that is.
Right, because you saw me as a bigger guy. You were all black belt. But you've met me. I look chunky, okay?
You're a big dude. Trying to move you.
I say chunky. I look chunky to a lot of people. Like, man, he look kind of chunky. I probably take him. I understand that to you.
I got the same problem, but I'm just like a foot shorter than you. So
right, but you're strong. I've seen your videos too, bro. Yeah. So it's that underestimating. Yes, you see a white belt around my waist, but the respect wasn't given, and you're the instructor. You just thought you were going to make an example out of me. And honestly, it happens to me in almost every course I go to, except Kelly Worden's. That's who Kelly Wardens. It's never happened. No one has ever tried to make an example out of me at his camps.
Because the context is there. And the thing that I'll really put it to it is, like I said, that caliber of intelligence, violent intelligence, just across the board there is something that it's a real treat for somebody who's an instructor who wants to be around that next level. Because men of violence, men and women, but people of violence, know their kind. And they don't need to flex on them because, again, they all know the consequences of it. They've been there, done that. So it is unnecessary. So they just get past it and just get to work. And that's, like I said, the thing that I really enjoyed about that camp. And what I really enjoy is coming back to it and just being part of that tribe, because you are who you associate with. You are the community around you. Just like rolling with my homies in the hood, that was them. That was me doing some hood rat shit. That's not who I am anymore. It's not my tribe. Military's not my tribe anymore. But my tribe is what I make of it. And again, being a person who does punchy, kicky, stabby stuff, I want to be around the people who also do the punchy, kicky, stabby stuff, but do it well and have it done and have done it to such a level that they do it well. So,
and you want to surround yourself by people who can learn from you as well as teach you. You know, like I literally still call myself to this day, I'm the forever student. I've received certain certifications. They're like, yeah, you're a master instructor. Okay, that just means I've mastered the basics. There's a lot more I need to do. That's all it is to me. It's like, yo, what are we doing? Like when you look at with firearms training, you know, we teach skills based off of Olympic sharpshooters. And it's only funny because when you look at some of the basic things we teach about like grip, stance, and this, that, and the other, it's like, well, yeah, all that makes sense if I'm still. All those skills make total sense if I'm standing in one place. It totally makes sense. But where does those same skills interact when it's when it's time to roll and it's time to move? You know, when it's time to run, when it's time to get behind cover, when it's time to take the shot while my heart rate is over 100 BPMs. You know, we teach stuff based off of old philosophy without letting the student understand why we're teaching them that. And the firearms world is, I would say, not too different from the martial art world, because but the only difference I will say is this: if you showed up with a knife at a training class, no one's going to say, is that an Emerson? Is that a so-and-so? Well, if you're using that knife is crap. You should never use that, blah, blah, blah. Gun people are snobs. Gun people are freaking snobs. And when I tell you this, it is gospel. It is in the Bible, small print. But you're using this gun? Well, I would never use that gun. This gun is beneath me. We literally are going to be our own downfall because we're snobs. Oh, well, you're carrying a Canik? That Canik's just a replica of this gun, so I'd rather just go buy this gun and call it a day. Dude, no one asked you your opinion on what the hell this person bought. I let you shoot it. And when I see you shoot it and you struggle with it, then I will make some suggestions on other guns you might need to try. Or other techniques you might need to try. But we are literally our own downfall. I've never been to a martial art class. Well, wait, that bow staff. Is that bamboo or is it redwood? Yeah, that's not going to work in this class because you need a better staff than that. Okay, listen. Here's my what do you want to call it?
Rattan?
No. Here's my distributor. Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one you're gonna buy all your martial weapons from going forward. Okay.
Yep.
He is the Glock of batons. Okay. Again, it is crazy the amount of just this conceited mindset of what you carry. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some very crappy guns out there. Okay.
Yeah. Starts with a H and ends with a point. Yeah.
But guess what, though? If that's what's in front of me and that's all I have, I will use it.
Yeah, it'll work once. It's all you really need.
I mean, and it's like, for example, and again, it is what it is. I had a student recently. She struggles with her firearm, but she doesn't come to class as often as she should.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she has a busy life, and I understand it completely. Okay, so I teach a women's shooting class every Wednesday night. Okay, I'm like, hey, come on out. If you have a firearm, bring it. If not, I'll let you use one of mine. We're gonna get you through a box of ammo. I'll teach you some drills. We're good. Okay. So what happened was she was struggling a little bit this one night, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna prove to you that what I'm showing you and what I'm teaching you is okay and it's correct. Okay. I'm gonna go look for a firearm I've never shot on the wall. At the given time, I didn't even have my personal firearm on me because I had literally just came from doing an advance on a property that I was supposed to work at for a security event. Okay. So what's this company? Daniel Defense came out with this gun called the H9.
Okay.
It's literally brand new. Like, it's 2024. I've never shot it. I grab it, buy a box of ammo, and I'm like, okay, everything that you shoot, I'm going to shoot as well. So she shoots, and then I shoot. I hit, she misses. And it's like, okay, well, that's because, I'm like, you can't say it's because I'm an instructor. You can't say it's because of the firearm. I've never shot this gun before. So when we get into the whole, I'm an instructor, but I only like certain guns. Yes, you can have a preference, but keep your damn preferences to yourself. That's what irritates me to no end. Keep your preferences to yourself. I carry CZ. Okay? I love CZ. Unfortunately for me, I fell down a CZ rabbit hole. I shot one and bought multiple because I love CZ. But if you give me any other gun, I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah.
What my preference is CZ. But I don't tell people, you can't buy, man, if you buy any gun, it only needs to be a CZ. No. That's why I say for us in the gun world, we're going to be our own demise because no one's ever came to a class and say, well, you know what? You bought this knife? Psh, you know what? That's not even the right knife. If you want to buy the right knife, you need to go over here to Knife and Company. They're the best knives ever. Now, don't get me wrong. I carry Bastinelli knives.
Well, you should. You should.
I mean, yeah, dude. It's a guilty pleasure because they make quality knives. Now, can I use any knife you give me? Sure. But we have this.
Yeah, we do. And what I feel you're dancing around too is it's principles that matter, not preferences. Because fighting is simple but not easy. I'll say that again. Fighting is simple but not easy. Reasons? Because fighting is principle based. We figured out how to do a long time ago. I'm going to cross that barrier of swearing because I just do. We as humans figured out how to fuck, fight, and feed ourselves millions of years ago, or however long we look at the anthropological study of humans. But again, fighting got figured out a long time ago. The tools evolve, but fighting is the principle-based approach to the effective application of violence. Fighting is also systematized later in life with curriculums and structured approaches like battle drills and whatnot. But again, people get so hung up on the minutia of preferences, techniques, and things and bias because of rhetoric and part of his inexperience. And then also like limitations in body composition due to injury, size, weight, athleticism, And again, that's where it gets complicated, is all that extra strenuous minutia. But when you really get down to it, human form only moves so many ways. So why does the tool matter necessarily if it's within the same category? So firearms, why does the tool matter? It's a projectile lead launcher that you can engage an enemy one direction, because you can't curve the bullet, but you can engage an enemy one direction and bullets go that away from you in generally. So
well, in Call of Duty they curve a little bit. I'm just saying.
yeah, and there was that movie. So
Yeah.
but and again with like knives have two very basic functions. They poke stuff and then they cut stuff. Then you can hook stuff, you can hit stuff with it. But again, the primary features of that, which you can base your principles around, is pokey, slashy. And it's not a matter of like, what's the more expensive knife? I mean, some case it is, but the fact is, dealing with some hood rat shit, it doesn't matter because they figured out violence a long time ago. Criminals and predators figured out violence a long time ago. We're just trying to catch up to it. And they don't have the rule set. So what they figured out what they can do is with a box cutter, because I mean airplanes got taken down with box cutters.
Yes.
Screwdrivers, pens, little craft knives, bottles. Again, it's that mindset of utilizing the principles and the mindset of violence. And then we get hung up on the minutia of it. Because like in my experience dealing with some hood rat shit, every time I've been stabbed, it was with a razor blade, with craft knife, because it was some hood rat shit. Never been in a knife fight, but I sure been poked a few times. So, but speaking of preferences, you being a man who enjoys a karambit, because we had that debate, but yeah.
I love it because it's literally the most, in my opinion, the most caveman knife you can ever have.
That's fair.
And the only reason why I say is because of the grip.
Yeah.
This is so natural to people.
Yep.
With no problem. I actually did a little bit of training with Doug Markita.
Yep.
Back in when he came to California to San Francisco to do a 2-day seminar. Did some training with him. Thought it was great. Now, again, difference of opinion on certain stuff. But again, I was there for that class. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, realistically speaking, and again, like I just said, for me, it's the caveman of knives.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows how to punch. Now, whether or not you know how to throw a punch properly is different than saying everyone knows how to throw a punch. A child knows how to throw a punch. You know, so for me, and it's kind of funny, I don't have one with me right now because usually I'm flailing and doing other stuff. But excuse me. So I feel that me and Kurt, we exchanged energies using knives one time. Again, these were all training knives, people, so don't get into your feelings about it. But it's training knives. And man, I mean, we had an amazing time.
Oh yeah, that was a fun little dance.
Yes, it was a fun little dance. And I mean, his flow is a lot different than my flow. Because he has, in my opinion, he has more knife training than I do.
Yeah.
Okay. He like the systems, the Kalis and the Pikiti Tertius. You know that stuff. Oh no, bro, you know it. Trust me. I witnessed it. All right. You know that stuff. Okay. So for me being on more of the combative side of the house, I'm more gross motor skill. Okay. I know knife in hand, there's arm. I need to attack this arm, but I also need to make sure this arm doesn't do anything too. You know? So for me, learning how to, matter of fact, I think I do have one. 1 second, because now it's going to be in my brain.
Well, we'll take a pause and I'll throw up one of the things that we were playing with.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do this. So by the way, people, this is kind of how we one of our exchanges.
Yeah, my mom will come out and get my chicken right now. Look at
Still hilarious
Yeah.
to this day. Okay.
Yes,
So
it is.
while I was out there training, I bought one of his trainers there. Oh, that's right. I don't think it'll work. I got an idea.
There you go. No, I see it. I see it right there. There you go.
So I bought one of his trainers,
Nice.
you know, just to have it just as part of the experience. And of course, it would kill and things like that. But
yeah.
so again, the background's killing me. Okay. So I keep everything in front of me. Okay. So, like I said, this is the most basic thing in life. Now, don't get me wrong. We should never fight with closed fists and things like that. But it became the conversation of, you know, I'm trying to think of this without trying to put anyone out there. There was an instructor that I dealt with who said that the weapon hand should be forward versus behind. Okay. And I was like, okay, well, to each their own. Okay. Now the philosophy, well, you know, I trained with these type of weapons with swords and fencing. And I'm like, okay. And I understand that, but even a samurai sword is still right foot back, left hand forward.
Because power swings.
It's the power swing. Okay. And they're like, well, you know, you're supposed to have the power hand forward. I'm like, dude, I understand why you feel that way. But that's the point. That is how you feel. Okay. That's not how I feel. All right. I like to keep my weapon behind because in my mind, it's a hidden thing. By the time, again, we're not talking mutual combat. Mutual combat, sure. We both know that's mutual combat, mutual destruction.
Yep.
We teach more self-defense based things. So by the time a knife is seen, we already began the role. We already started doing what we need to do. It's all over, you know, oh my God, 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 oh my God. Cut, slice. We've done all that. Okay. But that's not what fighting is in real life. There is no 1,000 cuts and all this. No, it's violent. It's straight to the point. So that's why I say for me, this is the most, and for me, this is the most Neanderthal knife ever. I grab, I punch, I cut, I stab, I move, I hook, I jab. I can't get more basic than that. Don't get me wrong. The hook, I mean, the ring has a purpose and things like that. Hell, even understanding how to do something as simple as that takes effort because, God forbid, if you use the wrong knuckle.
Yep. Watch that shit fly out of your hands.
There's a lot of issues. So again, that becomes a training aspect of understanding what you're doing. Like, for example, there's horrible videos of this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all because people still believe that you bring the karambit back.
No.
So not even understanding if I go here in slow motion, I can do this.
Yep. Oh, I have a photo.
I can literally just, well, okay, so my logo's killing it right now.
That's fine. So, like, I have 3 different approaches when it comes to knife work. I have the FMA flavoring, which is clearly cultural, a lot of curriculum. It's pretty, it's flow. I don't use it for fighting. I have the stuff that I have taught to military, which is particular to my family's personal lineage, which comes from military, where the knife is in the rear because we're dealing with firearms and transition and power base. It's a Western approach to knife work. And then I have the hood rat shit, which is
cutty, stabby.
It's a lot of stabby from behind, from the side. So it's the matter of the context of
Right.
whom and what we're training. Because a lot of people see the nice flowy drills and think that's knife fighting, which it's not. It's not even mutual combat. It's training. It's drilling. It's not how fighting works.
Mhm.
But a lot of people try to pass it off as that's fighting. It's like, well, yeah, it's struggle, but it's not really fighting.
Right.
It's flow. And again, this comes from people's lack of experience, lack of informed intellect, lack of struggle to really determine the difference between what's a flow drill, what's actually fighting within a rule set, and what's violence. Because violence is not pretty, it's chaotic.
Yes. And it's definitely like orchestrated.
Mhm.
You know, like some of the things we talk about in some of my classes are who determines when the fight is going to happen.
The enemy and the universe.
Exactly. You don't walk down the street like he looks like a bad person, I'm going to engage.
Mhm.
No one does that crap.
Mhm.
But the thing is, hell, even cops don't do that, to be
No.
honest with you. But it's just literally, you are the person. Are you going to be the person who understands? I'm an expert. There we go.
That's where I got my finger all slashed up because I did one with spinny things and tried to catch it. Yeah, that was bad.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Right.
Those
Like,
were
for example, and again, true story. I have a double-edged karambit.
Mhm.
And I think it was called the BAK, big ass karambit.
Yeah.
And what happened was I did a flow
Mhm.
where my hand was a little bit too open, and I caught like not deep, but like we'll just say like the top layer of skin.
Mhm.
It was like literally just the skin came off, no blood, no nothing. But if you put alcohol on that or sweat, are you gonna feel that? So
Yeah.
I did it so smooth that it was like not noticeable. But the minute I started to sweat, I was like, "Oh my god, I can feel."
What
But that
was
was
worse?
me being dumb, playing with a real knife.
What
And
was worse in that situation for me? It was one of those like, "Hey, honey, check this shit out." Yeah.
so you have witnesses.
Oh, I have my wife, and she has
Oh.
never let me down on it.
Oh yeah, and wives are never gonna let you down on stuff. It
No.
just doesn't happen. And like I said, it's really about understanding what you're using and why.
Mhm.
You know, I feel that every knife you buy should come with a training knife.
Agreed.
I feel that way. I feel like if you're going to carry this knife, buy a trainer that's very similar to it. Get you a nice little dummy. You know, get your flow, get your drills. You know, like dummy knives are great impact weapons too. If you buy a good one.
Yep.
You know, I bought 2 of these. These are the Doug Markita ones. I have one from Bastinelli. I have another one from Century Martial Arts. I have different types of karambits just so I can understand that all of them don't flow the same.
Yep. So like my preference, what I like is a straight blade with a ring on it. Because this is for deployability is why I like it. Because when I had it on my kit, either here or at the rear, it was real quick draw to bring it. Because like when I was training my unit, because I was a military combatives trainer for my unit for quite a long time, is one of the primary features that I taught was edged weapons work from the offensive standpoint, because we're a profession of arms and all my Joes were carrying these big ass knives and just knives in general. It's like, well, if you're going to carry them, let's teach you how to use them in concert with context, situation, and unit tactics, and also weapon retention. So, because that leads into a further conversation. But for weapon retention, I needed something small enough but efficient enough to do what I needed to do. And so, like preference, I like pokey stuff. I like hammering, because the way I taught it is from hammering position, because it's gross motor. And I don't have the emotional need to do the spinny stuff because I just don't.
Right.
But yeah, for deployability, yeah, this is great. So, but that's a preference. That's a straight up preference.
Yes. And I teach the karambit. I teach the straight knife. I teach, edge weapons. We teach edge weapons, but it's like, do you teach the folder? Do you teach a fixed blade? If it's a knife, now don't get me wrong, I don't teach a karambit class in the same I would say the same class I would teach a basic fixed blade or a folder.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, no, that's two different knives, it's two different classes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to like say, yeah, we're doing this, and this. Okay, now here, let me grab this knife and let me teach you. It's not the same. The flow is not even the same. Like, don't get me wrong, we have slashes, but we're literally depending on the point of the knife. Unless you have a double-edged karambit. You know, I can teach that hook. You know, I can teach that uppercut. Yes, but I can't teach that hook the same with a knife that's straight.
Yeah.
You know, that hook is different looking.
Because you have to flick it. You have to flick
right. You know, even the jab. Hell, the jab here is different than the jab here.
Yep.
It's different than if I had a straight blade or you know, so everything is different now. And it always depends on what you're using and why. Again, context and everything else. So that's why I feel that, hell, when I teach an edge class, I'm specific. This is a karambit only class. Now, can some of the flow be the same? Yes, as long as we don't flail. I can teach you flow as long as we don't flail. And that part of the class I can keep there. Now, does the flail have its purpose? Yes. Can you flail? Yes. Should you flail?
Maybe. Who knows? It could work once. I'll just say it that way.
I feel that if you don't train flailing, that you shouldn't flail.
Agreed.
That is what I will say.
And this is that root-based principles approach of like you have your set 6 techniques or tools that you're going to use, and then you have like all the strenuous stuff afterwards. But like everybody should know how to use a hammer. Everybody should know how to use a screwdriver. Everybody should know how to use a T-square and a tape measure. When we start dealing with all the extraneous doohickeys, that's when things get complicated.
Exactly. It's almost the same thing with a firearm. How much of a firearm person are you that you understand a firearm with a physical thumb safety and one that doesn't have one?
Me? No, because I don't carry one like that.
Yeah. So I mean, I train. So for example, the firearm I carry has a decocker because I use a hammer fire weapon.
Yep, I don't have that.
Yeah. So I love it. I mean, I feel like this when it comes to firearms and carrying one. You should train with the best firearm that you can afford and carry it. So for me, I love the CZ. Again, here we go, CZ, right? Should just get a shirt and some plugs. Let's get this going. I like the CZ Shadow 2 is one of my favorite firearms of all times when it comes to handguns. I'm sorry. It is one of the most phenomenal firearms ever. And that low bore axis just makes it just that much more better. Okay. Now, realistically speaking, I can't carry that firearm the way I carry a firearm because I think it's a 5.25 inch barrel.
So carrying an appendix is a little tricky.
That or I'm going to have a lot of interested women walking around when they see me.
I mean, we kind of can go on that subject.
Right. We could. But as a married man, I wouldn't want a woman looking that hard at firearm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, that's kind of awkward. So what I did was I researched the firearm that is as close to that one that I could, and then just got the internal change to perform like that firearm.
Nice.
Okay. That made more sense to me because I'm like, well, I can't carry that gun. I love that gun, but what's the equivalent? So for me, it was the CZ Tactical. I think it's a PO1. I think it's a PO1, Tactical PO1, SPO1. Excuse me, SPO1 Tactical. So again, it doesn't have a threaded barrel or anything like that. It's just an amazing firearm, all metal. Okay, Cajun Gunworks, another plug. They make these kits for all CZs, and it's like, yo, And literally going to the community. Hey man, is that Cajunized? Dude, they make firearms for everything, but Cajun Gun Works, dude, CZs, hands down, they're the best in the business. Okay. And it doesn't void the warranty if you get their internal parts put into the firearm.
That's cool.
Exactly. So they made a deal. So that firearm became my CZ Shadow 2 for carry, because it just made sense to me to carry what I enjoy and what I'm best with.
Yep.
So
and that's
hammer fire on firearm.
And that's the thing about adapting to your needs. Because like, as much as we talk about fighting is principle based, yes, the human body only moves so many ways. Yes. But our body, our experience, our methodology is based upon us. So we have to adapt to our needs and our preferences, because there's physical composition things that limit or exemplify certain features of us. Like, I'm not going to run anywhere quick, fast, or hurry. I'll eventually get there hobbling. So that's not what I deal with. So if I touch you, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
As for like tools, like firearms, I really like firearms because I don't have to touch you and you don't have to touch me, and I can engage at long range. But I have to modify the type of firearm I carry because regionality, way I carry, way my SCAP is positioned. For those who need to understand that technical definition, a SCAP is a specially calibrated ab protector, because I need to protect my delicate six pack. So there's that. But point being is, the tools that we carry have specific features and we have specific preferences for that. So we have to fight to figure out what we want to work with. And it's different for everybody. And this is where I find where systems are based upon the preferences of the progenitor, and everybody's trying to replicate that one thing that they were really good at and they liked and made work once underneath all the right circumstances. That's the tricky part about curriculum and styles, because when we're trying to replicate students and athletes that are exactly like us, that doesn't work. Because like in my case, all my students are typically, unless they're children, a foot and a half taller than I am. So trying to teach them how to fight in the means and method that I prefer, they end up like trying to squat down with shoulders. Like, no, be tall. Don't fight like how I fight. Use the method, use the approach, use the tactics and principles, but use your body type. If you're tall, be tall. If you're long, be long. And it's an interesting thing about training, pedagogy, and application, and just like having those pre-verbal qualifiers to explain that, hey, here's the principles, here's the techniques, but really fight and figure it out for you, what works for you
at that moment. And it's always about that moment. That's why a lot of stuff I don't teach is technique based, because then you'll be stuck at, okay, well, when I saw the knife coming this way, I need to do a high block. Exactly, bro. It's you see, again, touch hand. We know what we thinking. But we've been there. It's the high block, and then you come around and am I thinking about that? What if I have a cast on my arm? What if my wife is on my side and there's a second person?
What if I miss?
What if, oh God forbid if you miss. God forbid if you miss, or if you didn't have the right angle, because it's about the angle of the arm. You do
what if my fingers are splayed out?
Right. So it becomes, don't teach technique. Teach reaction.
And that's like tying back to water and steel. There was a few techniques just to give a baseline of familiarity of what we're doing, but overall, what I took away is it's principles that help tie things together. Because despite all of the shotgun water hose approach to all the information that I got, finding the connections between all the stuff as a common thread, finding those principles is what I was able to glean from there and actually make my own, and within the language that I understand and my physical language. And again, this is the difference between good and great. Good replicates a curriculum, verbatim, one for one, and it's technique driven. great is about synthesis, adaptability, creativity, that is all based upon principles, and they chase an outcome or condition, not all the little minutia to get there.
Exactly. And it's better to teach principles than techniques.
Yeah.
Like we saw techniques applied to the principles of when and why you're doing it. How everything tied together. How if we had a weapon, we do it this way. If we had empty hand, we do it the same way. If we had a different weapon, we can do it the same way. You know, like with water and steel, whatever we was shown with a bow staff can be done with an eskrima stick, can be done with a knife, can be done empty-handed. And it was like, when you look at what it's based off of, connecting the systems, you know, it's literally like if someone says, hey, describe water and steel with to me, what martial art are you guys actually practicing?
Stuff.
Connecting the systems.
Yep.
And it was like, what? Connecting the systems. You might see something that looks like it's karate, but it's also kung fu. And it's also kung fu is also Kali. And then it's also Kali is also Bikini Tertia. But again, we're not going to go there because that's a different. I feel like, and again, this is just me. The Bikini Tertia element is strict. It's like if you're not doing this, you're doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that's only because some of the practitioners I met. It was like, well, this is Bikini Tertia. Nothing else is like this.
Okay.
But I've seen this exact same thing. No. Nothing else is like this. It's like, damn, okay. Well, that's how you feel. And I understand that feelings can be argued. Because it's how you feel. Okay.
Well,
I've
don't I
seen this
accept
somewhere
the
else
argument?
too.
Yeah. Yep. It's whether you accept that data. That's
Right.
the other end. You're free to say, but you're not adherent to. You are not responsible for the consequence. And the consequence therein is, I may not believe you.
Right. Or this isn't going to work. I love that one. This does not work, or this isn't going to work. That's how you feel. And I understand that. I receive. That's how you feel. I'm not going to try to change your mind because that's how you feel. Now, I can show you how it would work. Sure. But this is the reason why I always have to remind people, and we think we've had this conversation when we was at Water and Steel, was people see counters. People see counters in practice. But practice is slow.
Yes.
To allow you to see counters.
Yes.
So you're already thinking about, well, if he does this, I can do that. Well, wait a minute. You only know you can do that because you see me doing it slowly. Which is something I laugh at whenever I go to classes. Because again, I get picked on in classes all the time.
Yep.
I do. I get picked. Hey man, let me get him. He's the biggest guy up in here. Okay, cool. And what happens is I meet instructors who move goalposts on me. You know, well, if you do this technique, the person can take your firearm easily. Okay.
But if I don't let them take my firearm.
Right. But again, so now it becomes, okay, I'm doing the technique you said was bad. Okay. So I'm doing the technique you said was bad that's not going to work. And it's working. So now you move the goalpost on me by changing the rules of the fight. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. The comment was, if I do this, the firearm is going to come out and they can take my firearm.
Yep.
But I'm doing what you said and it doesn't work because you felt the need to step up and do this. And I'm like, wait a minute. Don't change the rules. You know, and it happens to me a lot. It does. And I'm okay with it because I'm used to it.
Yep. That's a resiliency piece. Having experienced it, you know how to address it and adjust when necessary.
Yes. And I'm telling you, any class that someone demonstrates on me, someone moves the goalpost if what they say is not supposed to work, works. And it's because you don't look at my structure. You don't look at how I do things. You don't look at how I carry. You don't look at how I move.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was specifically told at one class where, you know, the backhand, your strongest hand is put backwards because of the use of gloves. And all I could do, and all I could do was go, oh, okay. I even now, and I'm still waiting for my buddy to call me back because he's very busy. But I'm like, I need a boxer to have this conversation with, because what I've been told is my stance is based off glove use. And
I mean, it depends on how you catch. It depends on your hand position. Depends on if you're right, orthodox, preferred. It depends. I mean, if you're a West American trained boxer, there's a whole lot of stuff that's particular to lineage.
Right. So like for me, for example, I switch. I also used to do Taekwondo. So I have a black belt in Taekwondo. I don't talk about it a lot because
it's Taekwondo.
It's Taekwondo.
It's same.
You ain't gonna see me kick nobody because my old behind ain't trying to kick. Now, can I still kick? Yes. I did a it's kind of like a butterfly kick in Water and Steel with a young man where I did the cartwheel into a butterfly kick. Yes, I can do that, but my old self actually almost slipped and twisted my knee in the process. I can still do it, but it was like, that was me doing it ad hoc, not trained, not warming up, just doing it. Okay. But realistically speaking, and again, this is how I'm looking at it. We, as instructors, we have this responsibility not to give out unrealistic things or ideals. Okay. And I feel that a title can make you give out false information.
That's why I got rid of all my titles except for coach.
As you can see, all I have is founder of the two businesses that I run. And that's why I said in the beginning how I don't call myself a martial artist. I stopped because I feel like you may be an insult to other martial artists because I don't believe in the same concepts anymore. Because back what I used to read, you know, the martial artists, the arts of being martial, so to speak, were these samurai who no longer had a job.
They have time to pontificate.
Right. And then I had time to pontificate, like you just said, pontificate. They sit down, they like, man, I am now a samurai without a job, but I still have a sword. I'm a samurai without a job, but I still have all these skills. So for me to teach these skills, I have to add philosophy. So now I'm not teaching you just violence. I'm teaching you mindset and accountability for your actions. That's
that find purpose after all that pain during peacetime, because it's also decompression. That's also reconnecting and having value to the experiences that you had. So it's not a waste. And also it's okay to put down the sword and pick up the pen.
Exactly. So now when you look at that versus now, is it a cash grab or are you really teaching? Are you really giving? Are you really enriching someone's life? You know, because if it's a cash grab, like I had a discussion with a man months like last year, I'll say, and I have this thing. I'm going to get dug on it, but it's okay. I don't feel you should teach if you don't have a passion for it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just how I feel.
I agree.
I feel that way. And I don't teach people who want to become instructors when the first words that they mouth is, this is a great way for me to supplement my income. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, put food on the table.
Right. This can help supplement your income. But give me more about you. So I literally give verbal interviews with people to understand if you're the person I want to teach to become an instructor, because if it's a cash grab, I feel that you can be influenced to give out certificates. I feel that you will just hurry and get through a class because you got other stuff to do.
Yep.
I feel that you're not going to take that phone call when a student truly has something on their mind, they want to talk to you about it. Like my students know, hey, you can text me or email me or call me. Now, if I don't call, leave a message and we'll definitely have a conversation.
Yep.
I do Zoom classes on how to clean your firearm from time to time. I do Zoom classes on reloading and loading your gun and fixing your gun. And I do that stuff. But it's because it is a passion. Don't get me wrong, though. The story of me becoming an instructor is actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So when I became an Illinois concealed carry firearm instructor, okay?
That's interesting. That's interesting.
You see what I mean? And I'm being specific.
Yep.
An Illinois concealed carry firearm instructor. I was already teaching people how to shoot. I would go to my local range, it was in Posen, Posen, Illinois. And I would go there, I would shoot, someone would look at my target and say, hey, how did you do that? Sure, let me show you how I did it. And I would do it almost like every other weekend. I was at the range teaching people how to shoot. All of a sudden, I think it was 2011, 2012, I want to say. A news bulletin came up, ABC News. Illinois is now part of the states that's going to be doing concealed carry.
Gets it.
Looked at my wife. It was like, whew, boy, I feel sorry for those people. They're going to have a hell of a time, and that's just a liability I don't want. She's like, well, wait a minute. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You will go to the range and teach people for free, but you won't get trained to learn how to teach people how to do it and then make money from teaching people? Women and their logic. Ugh. No one cares that you're smart. No one cares. All right. Love you, honey. So no one, no one cares that you're smart. So bro, I'm telling you, so what ended up happening, I kid you not, I found a gentleman to teach me all of the NRA instructor curriculum within his cabinet.
Cool.
So I'm talking about pistol, rifle, shotgun, personal protection inside the home, personal protection outside the home, refuse to be a victim training, chief RSO training. I did the whole catalog before I even applied, because I felt that as an instructor, I need to learn how to instruct.
Yep. Because
guess what? A lot of things come out is, well, you're military, and I'm a prior veteran, and I'm a veteran, and because I'm a veteran, I know how to do this stuff. So that means I know how to teach it. Wrong.
No, you might have been a cook. You might have been a cook.
But you can't teach me how to season. That's the way I feel. You might have been a cook, but you can't teach me how to season food. You don't know my palate. So I have to understand palates to be able to cook for people, correct? I could be wrong. I'm not a cook. So, for example, it is what it is, but I just felt that, dude, I need to learn how to teach properly to civilians. Okay? And I'm going to be honest with you. I learned how to be a better shooter as a civilian. I learned how to handle weapons better as a civilian.
Because you don't have the opportunity just to overwhelming fire superiority, spray and pray with all your buddies. You have so much more to be aware of.
Right, like stoppages and stuff, like double feeds and everything. I was like, damn, all this stuff can happen to a gun? I didn't know that. So, man, I do the whole gambit. I become an instructor. I teach my first class, and I want to say it was October of 2012 or 2013. And for me, every October is a little bit depressing, because my first class had at least 20 people. None of them were black.
Fair.
None of them were family.
That's
like harsh. Blood relatives.
That's harsh.
So it was buddies I paintballed with.
Okay.
People I've never met.
Okay.
And that was the mix. People I've never met and paintball buddies. And
But
people who my
that you,
paintball buddies referred to.
but people that you love.
People that, exactly.
Yeah.
So every October is a little bit depressing for me. I think about that like, damn, I've come a long way, but my first class had not one blood relative.
Yep.
Because I wasn't, in their eyes, an instructor.
Yeah.
Because they knew me as a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a little bit heartbreaking when I hear my family went somewhere else for training. I'm like, I do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got 1,001 excuses. That's fine. But you're not going to stop me from what I'm doing and how I do it.
I've had this same experience, and I know other instructors have as well. Yes.
Yeah. So what happens is from that, it became, I need to be able to separate myself from other Illinois concealed carry instructors.
Mm-hmm.
So now I become a advanced pistol instructor for NRA.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, they stopped the program. I'm one of the last people to get it.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, now I got that. That took recommendations from other people who I've trained with or trained me. Then I get that certification. I'm still hungry. I want more. Then I get signed up for a NRA law enforcement course.
Mm-hmm.
NRA law enforcement courses allow you or give you the certification to train security guards and law enforcement if so choosing.
Okay.
So now it's like, okay, I need to get into this class. I had to get recommendations again. I had to like beg and plead to get into the classes, this, that, and the other. Finally get in. I do amazingly well. Even the guys who were there were like, damn, you're not a cop? No. My mother said I couldn't be a cop.
Great advice. That's some great advice.
She said it. She was like, you served in the military. No, you're not going to become a cop. Damn. Okay. That was the whole. I thought that was the first thing in my mind. Like, yeah, I'm going to become a cop. I'm going to join SWAT. My mother was like, nah, you can't do that. So I do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to become an instructor who trains security and law enforcement.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then that segues years later into me becoming a private detective, which segue the following year to becoming a private security contractor for the state of Illinois. But that one thing, becoming a NRA law enforcement instructor, allowed me to become an Illinois certified firearm instructor, which a lot of people don't hold that title. So I was like, that was the separating factor of me and everyone else as a concealed carry instructor. I want to be better at my craft by training more. And
that's mastery. That's what that is. Not proficiency, because you have gotten that initial piece of paper and gone to work. That's fine. That's the 80%. No, right. that's the 10%. But the 1% are the ones that are the masters of their craft who are consistently working at it, getting after it. Because like you got the big chunk of people who are just going to be participating in it. But like you got the people who will go to work with it. Then you got the people who are going to master it. And mastery is what you're describing. Yeah. And I feel that, and it's just my opinion, so I don't want to just say it and be mean about it, but I feel that if what you wanted was to become a concealed carry instructor and that was it, why? Why do you feel that's the stopping point? Is it because you're making money doing that? Or because you really want to be better at your craft and teach people what they need to know and what they should understand about carrying a firearm on their body the whole time? You know, some of us have the saying, I want you to buy the most expensive firearm, the most expensive ammo, the most expensive holster, and I pray you never have to use it. That's fair. I love it. Yeah, but, you know, there's more to it than just saying, here, you pass a concealed carry course. A lot of the courses that I teach, and I think I can give some other credit to some other instructors too, where they're also teaching you life skills and understanding why you're carrying this gun and how you should portray yourself and act. That's the mindset part.
You know, and I feel like a mindset is the most pertinent part of even carrying a firearm, or just being a person walking outdoors in general.
Yeah, because you have projection and then you have perception. Because we're going to keep coming back to this because it is a thing. We being not white men, we have a certain level of projection that we have to adhere to, and a certain level of perception that we have to adhere to. So the way we present ourselves is a survival skill for not just us, but those who we love and around us. So it's that whole thing of stereotypes do exist for a reason, because predators are there. It's not our fault when people fall prey to some of the negative stereotypes, but it's also our responsibility not to perpetuate those stereotypes. So as a life skill, we have to project and present ourselves in such a manner that is a cut above what people perceive. And that takes skill and experience. Did I lose you? You're froze.
I muted because I didn't know if me pouring water in my cup was loud.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, because like if it was loud and it sounds like I'm like urinating or some crazy shit. Like I'm literally pouring, like this is what I'm drinking from. This is where all my water is.
That's fair. Well, yeah, what I was saying is like presentation, perception, and what is the purpose behind that? And the fact is, when you carry weapons, when you instruct how to use them, when you have done them both, you have to carry yourself in such a manner that people don't yes, you do need a certain level of people need to perceive you as a threat because you are protective. It's personal protection skill sets for you and those around you. But for the common people, for the predators, you need to project. But for the common people, they need to feel safe around you, even though you're not a risk or a danger to them. But they have this need to feel that they need to feel safe around you because they may know stuff about you, like military, combat, all the firearms, all the martial arts stuff, some of the hood rat stuff, like my case. So it's a really tricky subject that a lot of people don't teach because it's not a lived-in experience. And that's the thing that separates some certain types of instructors.
Yeah, and I feel like life experiences do play a part on the type of instructor you're going to be. Because again, I feel like life is the best teacher.
Yep.
And and again, we go back to that struggle. Without a certain amount of struggle, what did you learn? You know, it's just understanding who you don't know who you are until you're under pressure. Are you the person who buckles, or are you the person who stands up to adversity? Back to that A word we used earlier. You know, adversity is always going to be around you. And yes, I feel like for us, it kind of follows us a little bit more. For us, it a little bit more present in our everyday lives, but it's not overwhelmingly present as people like us to believe.
Yep, and it does not define us. That's the big one. So
you know, it's almost like oh my god, I even hate to use this term, not this example. So there's this woman who did this this interview, okay, and she found out that she was like a large, overwhelming amount of her DNA was European. And I just kind of but this person is Puertorriqueño, okay? Well, excuse me, she's a woman, so Puertorriqueña, okay? So if you know anything about Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans, is that they come from three bloodlines. Black, European,
and Native.
Okay? You come from three. To be Puerto Rican and not know that is already like then what are you proud of? You have a whole month of pride.
Mhm.
None of that month you decide to become more intelligent of who you are as an individual. Okay.
Gotta look.
So this person is 1,000% about reparations,
Yeah.
but now you just found out you're an overwhelming percent white
Yeah.
or European. So are you receiving reparations or are you passing out reparations?
Right.
So now it becomes that whole thing about knowing yourself
Mhm.
and knowing when not to talk.
Mhm.
Okay. What is it? A smart man knows everything. A wise man knows when not to talk.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. We'll go with that. Okay. But
Yeah.
the point given. And it's like, why would you not educate yourself on something before you open your mouth?
Yes. Yeah. Because you got a lot of people. So this is the issue about content creation, because we both are, and we run in the same circles. And there's different levels of creators out there, and you got a lot of people. This is why you end up on certain Facebook pages for our scrutiny that talk out their fourth point, because they're trying to get data out there. They're trying to get the clickbait. They're trying to get all the traffic. But it's like they're looking at it at a very surface level, but they haven't lived in the experience, and it can be somewhat hazardous to themselves and those who consume that information. So do the work ahead of time. And a lot of the work, aside from the very technical, curriculum-based education standpoint, is the lived-in experience.
Yes.
Because you can tell who's been there and done that, not by what they talk about, not by what they say, but I mean by what they do, they carry, they present. So yeah, that's tricky.
Like when we did Water and Steel together, I carried a training firearm the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I literally carry a firearm most days of the week, except when I go into my government job.
Yeah. The context is particular.
Right. So it made more sense to me to train the way that I carry and the way that I dress on a regular basis. I didn't bring shorts or jogging pants. I'm like, no, this is how I dress. So I want to fight the way I dress. When I went to a particular class recently, that's the way I dress. That's my training uniform. Tactical pants, a belt, and a firearm. That is how I dress on a daily basis. So this is how I'm going to train. And I feel that that part is missing when we get into training people. It's like for example, something I tell my students is buy the firearm according to how you dress. Yeah. Don't change your wardrobe because you want a particular firearm.
Yep, because people will know.
So one of the things that I laugh at about to this day is the I call it the tactical fisherman's vest.
Yes.
You've seen them.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, this is my vest that I wear to conceal that I'm having a firearm on my body. But you're not supposed to know I have a firearm because I'm wearing a vest that looks like a fisherman's vest when I'm not near a body of water.
And he's probably got a leather holster in 1911 and an oversized belt buckle.
And it's
talk about stereotypes.
So when we talk about that mindset, do you think me, who I am and how I look, bald head, beard, tattoos, can walk outside in a tactical fisherman's vest while carrying a firearm?
I probably would say no, because it'll be out of place for one.
So now that mindset, how do you dress? Buy your firearm according to how you dress. We're training people to understand your job is not to stand out.
No, that's why I wear a hoodie all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely why you wear a hoodie all the time, because you don't want to stand out.
No, but I live in Alaska. It's perfectly acceptable wear, and people
where
always
you're located.
Where I locate. And on top of all that, people just expect me to wear a hoodie because that's all I wear anyways. So there's that expectation, because I've created that expectation. And therefore, when I deviate from it, that's when people raise an eyebrow.
Right. Unless the occasion calls for it. So me, I'm usually always in a polo. some type of either tactical pant or some type of slack.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in jogging clothes and like say jogging pants, a shirt, and some gym shoes, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to the barbershop.
Yep.
That's the well, I'm not gonna say the most vulnerable times because I still usually have a knife on me, but that's here on there. But it's still that concept of I dress a specific way, so I make sure that my weapon set is according to that. Even if I'm in a suit, think about it this way. We talk about mindsets and we talk about weapons. All weapons aren't physical.
Yes.
Okay. The mind is the biggest weapon you have. Okay.
Yes.
The mind is a weapon. So even if I have to go into corporate America to go speak to a potential client and their business says, hey, no firearm, I have to go in there, elevator pitch, look good, and still get the job done. But this whole thing right here is what's operating. This is telling me how to speak. That's why I think this whole podcast, I think I said one bad word, the S word.
There's two.
As doesn't count. As is in the Bible. Now, it's in there somewhere. So when you look at that concept, like you just said, code switching. Code switching is a mentality. It's a mentality that's only programmed by understanding that that's a weapon. It is a weapon. It's a disarming weapon.
Yep.
I don't want you to see me as a big, bald black guy with a beard and tattoos. See me differently.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, we have to code switch. I feel that that's something that's again a whole nother podcast, to be honest with you. We'll be all day talking about that. But we have to use the tools at our disposal. And your brain is going to be the best thing you have. That's why the term cooler heads prevail exists. Like, I love those conversations. Man, all I saw was red. Why?
Why? You're undisciplined for one, and inexperienced for two.
Right. Like, there's one of the coldest lines I've ever heard in a movie. Well, there's probably multiple, but I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love Marvel. I don't know what I love DC Comics. I don't know what the hell DC did with movies, but we're gonna let that go.
It's because they hired a guy who got kicked out of Marvel. That's basically what happened.
Let's go with that, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like this. Marvel has been the fighter with their hand tied behind their back for years because they sold so many of their intellectual properties.
That, and also they allowed a certain production leadership staff to take over, and they have a certain philosophy that they're trying to perpetuate.
Right, but think about it though. If they never sold the intellectual properties, the Marvel Cinematic Universe might be different if Superman stayed. If Spider-Man stayed. You know what I'm saying? If X-Men stayed. But again, I want you to think about that concept. It's just the fighter with their hand tied behind their back and was still winning against DC, who had full control of their intellectual properties. There was a moment on, I think it was Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Where Captain America is talking to Bruce Banner. And the Red Witch, aka the Scarlet Witch, you know what I'm saying? She came from behind him and she was like, what the hell is she doing here? And they was like, we know you're upset. Lady, you don't know upset. I can choke you out and not even change a shade. Now I want you to understand that concept. Not even change a shade. Who is Bruce Banner?
The angriest dude on the planet.
But he turns into
the Hulk.
I can choke you out and not change a shade. That same concept comes into the mind when people talk about I see red. Why? I can do the same thing you're doing in a calmer way. You know, and I've told people this. I've had this conversation with multiple of my students. Who's stronger, Bruce Banner or the Hulk? And everyone screams, well, of course the Hulk, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner has the most powerful weapon in the world and chooses when to use it.
My favorite line of his actually is in the first Avengers movie is, you know what my secret is I'm always angry.
Yes. My wife knows that's my favorite line too.
Because, I mean, it's a commentary on control and violence. Now, there's a whole other philosophical standpoint. I want to talk about conditions of violence, identity, and all those things and mindset. But the fact is, true power is in control and in discipline, because discipline is freedom, to use a phrase from Jocko. But again, true power comes from control and to use a Dune phrase, to be able to destroy a thing is to have control over it, or true control. I'm going to butcher that. But point being is, the control that we exhibit in our usage of violence and our capability is a superpower, because we have the breadth of experience, we have the reasons, we have the means, we have the methods. But to engage in the violence when we're fully righteous in doing so, or withholding with having the control not to engage in violence when we have the absolute righteous authority and reasons to do so, that's power. That's control. That's discipline. But that comes from experience.
Yes. Like for me, for example, I have 2 discs sitting on a nerve. Okay. So my mobility is a little bit limited and things like that, but I don't show people that. Okay. So when I go to the gym, I listen to the grunts and the drops and the and the I have to bench press with my legs on the bench.
That's
because
fair.
I can't use my lower back.
That's fair.
So for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, someone sees me sitting down at the bench. I'm looking at the smallest point on the floor, and my hands are usually enclosed just like this, and they're on my lap. And for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, you see me doing this. And I had one person literally walk up to me and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" "Oh, I'm fine. I'm just visualizing."
Yeah.
He was like, "What?" I'm like, "Do you see the weights I'm pushing up?" "Yeah." I don't have a spotter.
Yeah.
So because I don't have a spotter, I need to make sure that I understand and I respect what's behind me before I put my body under that bench. I'm giving respect to it because I understand that if I dropped it on my chest, it can kill me. It can hurt me very bad. Okay. I have to also understand that there's no spotter. I'm not expecting help. So I have to lift this weight and put it up and not look for help. But in that same token, I also don't want to lift in a place of anger
or fear.
So I'm not sitting here. I don't want attention to me. I just want to do this in the most calmest way I can. So then that way, if I have to do it with emotion, I can be that much more stronger.
Yep.
So it's like learning how to do things, again, like you just said. Yeah, he's always angry, but he has a peace that keeps him from turning green. And it's the same thing I tell my students about their firearm. You're literally carrying around the Hulk on your waistline, on your stomach if you want the belly band or whatever crazy shit stuff they'd be wearing. Okay, that's 2 curse words. But it's like you're carrying that.
Yeah.
But I need you to be Bruce Banner all the time. And when it's time for you to go green, all else is you've lost everything. You lost your ability to de-escalate. You lost your ability to run away. You've lost everything that would have made you the pacifist that you walked into the situation as. And now you have to do what you have to do.
It's philosophy that I use is for those who cannot run, fight. But you have to try to run. But it's more than that, because you have to utilize all the skills ahead of time, and the usage of violence up to the point of lethality is the last option. Because if I go straight forward first, then that's a problem. It's contextually a different thing. But with all the things stacked against us, we have to exhaust all those options first. We have to try to run away first, use the big list, before we engage in violence. And that comes from a whole lot of training, whole lot of discipline, a lot of experience and maturity. And that's the thing that I find within the community, going back talking about paper hanging and people who get the certificates without the lived-in experience. There is a responsibility that they carry by giving out information. Yes. For one, it's the time that nobody's ever going to get back. So put things out with purpose. 2 is you're passing on, I'm not saying sacred knowledge, but and not dangerous knowledge, but it's knowledge that can be dangerous if it's utilized incorrectly. So there is a strong responsibility for those who pass on information, and also those who have the information have the responsibility to pass it on in a responsible way.
Yes.
So,
and understanding your audience.
Yep.
You know, I just, like, for me, I have just so many beliefs and so many expectations. Okay. And I feel that for me, I want my student not only to get their money's worth, but their soul's worth.
Yep.
Did your soul get fed as well?
Yep.
Did I give you a tidbit that can help you in your everyday life? Something to make you think about things like that. You know, it's literally just, you're not just there you're there for those 2 days. Like, you know, for us, concealed carry 16 hours. But it's like, okay, what did you get from me besides the certificate?
Yeah.
You know, and if your goal was just a certificate, you could have went anywhere. Why'd you choose me? Like, for us, like, I have 2 instructors under me, and for concealed carry and things like that. And my prices for concealed carry have never changed.
Yeah.
Through 2013 or 2012 or whatever until now, they never change. But that's because I would rather give it away for free to discount myself.
Yeah.
You know, now when it comes to the hand-to-hand stuff, yeah, I teach that a little bit differently, and I, you know, will throw out a couple of free classes for that, or I even do free classes for concealed carry, mostly for impoverished people, though.
That's
or
fair.
low-income people.
That's fair, because protection should not be for the privileged.
Exactly. Low-income people, hey, it's your business about how much money you make, but you know who you are. You want this training, I offer that, you know. But where it gets complicated is, do I want to teach a massive amount of people, or do I want to teach a massive amount of information to a small amount of people?
Quality over quantity.
And for me, that's who I am. I want everyone to get something out of the class, and there's a possibility that I would have a person that doesn't want to ask a question because the class is too big.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's realistically like, okay, what are you doing and why are you doing it, and who are you doing it for? You know, one of my buddies, I love him. He goes out there, he teaches like a $25 or $100 class, and he'll fill that bad boy up. But the man is entertaining.
Yeah.
When I say his students love him because of who he is, he's entertaining, and I give him 100% credit for that. But that's him. And that's why I try to influence instructors. Be you. Don't imitate who I am and what you've seen from other people. Be you.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I got attracted to NSI, natural spirit, and Worden Defense Systems, because it was more about you making it natural to you.
Same. Yep.
You know, it wasn't mimic me and do me exactly. No, it was be you and make these movements your own. Once you make the movements your own, you can teach it better because it's yours now. You know, Dr. Kelly S. Worden, hey, I love this man to death. He is not a gatekeeper.
No, he's all about take it and make it yours.
Man, he does not gatekeep. I'm telling you, y'all don't understand what it's like to have an instructor who just literally is a mountain of information, who wants to give you this information, who does not gatekeep. That man is not a gatekeeper. This dude, if you allow him, will talk your ear off about any subject matter dealing with martial arts.
Yep.
And he will tell you about the stuff. He teaches you the stuff. He does not gatekeep. There is no secret what was it called? The 5-finger punch for
Dimmock.
The Dimmock. Yeah, there's no Dimmock that he's holding back. He's showing you this stuff. He's teaching you this stuff. So when I met someone like him, I was like, damn, okay, let me change my style to be more about me when it comes to hand-to-hand. That's why I stopped like before him, I had already stopped calling myself a martial artist.
Yeah.
But Datu doesn't call himself a martial artist.
No.
He's a person who teaches martial arts.
Yep.
So I don't call myself just a firearm instructor. You know, like for example, and this is just a quick tidbit. One of the things that people always teach is stop the threat.
Yeah.
I teach modify your behavior.
Yeah.
Modify their behavior.
Yeah.
It's still 3 words.
Yeah.
But like if I pull if something, we exhausted all communication, this person just wants to do harm.
Mm-hmm.
I draw my firearm. If this modifies their behavior, this is as far as I need to go.
Yep.
My finger touches the trigger. If this modifies your behavior, this is as far as it needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
If this doesn't modify your behavior,
then I got a more permanent solution. Yeah.
it's going to modify your behavior. But my goal and my intentions are what? Modify your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the difference between me using a firearm and me using my mouth? By speaking, not no other ways, just in case y'all get it twisted. If I converse with the person,
mm-hmm.
am I not trying to modify your behavior by conversing with you?
Yep.
I can probably get the same result if I had a knife or a gun. But my first goal is to use the weapon God gave me.
So talk about weapons. So humans lack natural weapons. We don't have claws. We don't have really good teeth. What we have is a brain and the capability to use tools, to make tools.
Mm-hmm.
Our brain is the center of which we are capable to make tools. The brain is the primary tool.
Yes.
So why not use that first? Because all the extraneous extra stuff is disconnected because you're not physically connected in all that control because it's not attached to your brain. Your body is. Your
Mm-hmm.
actions are. Your mouth, your mindset. So the number one tool in the arsenal is the brain.
Because no one tells you that.
It's true because they're all technique driven because they're trying to make money.
No one tells you that your brain is literally your most important weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No one tells you that. No one teaches you that. You have to learn that from someone who understands that. And that's the first part of the lesson is who do you go to? Okay. Who do you go to teach you common sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I say that because for me, common sense only exists with common knowledge of the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I hate words like common sense gun laws. You can't have common sense gun laws if you don't have common sense about what guns do.
Mm-hmm. Let alone any education about them.
Right. But the people who make the laws about guns don't know anything about guns.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who make the laws about the guns, who don't know nothing about guns, are protected by guns.
Yep.
So just imagine the hypocrisy that exists in our world. That lawmakers tell you don't need guns while being protected by a gun.
Mm-hmm.
But lawmakers won't go to a gun-free zone to go have a rally.
No.
Because if you go to a gun-free zone to go have a rally, then you don't need your guards, right? Because it's a gun-free zone.
And yet, the people who don't listen to the rules because their mindset is as such, which is an interesting counterpoint. Because at Water and Steel, what I presented is this idea of criminal creativity. Because the predominant, aside from my professional military and combat sports background, I have some hood rat shit that is my predominant experience with violence. And so like the mindset that I deal with the way that I teach, there's a difference between the martial arts and combat sports versus my combative stuff is I teach from the mindset and perspective from a criminal standpoint because that's my experience. And so like what I presented at Water and Steel, which had some mixed not mixed reviews, but mixed messaging and recipients, because I've had this several times because dealing with law enforcement have this mentality of authority given to them from a litigious standpoint because they're law enforcement. They have a badge and an oath that they have to maintain. So they have to maintain a certain level of social discipline and mindset. So having a hard time dealing with the criminal mindset because it's completely adverse to theirs and different from theirs is really tricky to conceptualize. But to understand the perspective here, that's a whole different style of training. And I don't know, it's interesting and talk about the mind as the weapon. The criminal already figured out this stuff a long time ago. The violent criminal already figured out this stuff a long time ago. They're just not restrained by rules of society. And
Right.
so, like I said, the criminal creativity thing is a tricky training model to present, let alone practice.
I will say this: it's not tricky. I say it's not tricky, but that's because we have similar backgrounds.
Yes.
But the reason why I would say it's not tricky is because fundamentally, aren't you supposed to train like your enemy?
Yes.
So I'm not going to learn violence from people who plant flowers.
No.
Unless those people who plant flowers know violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's something I've said before on different podcasts and stuff like that. But I feel like this: you don't take a cop who was born and raised in Mayberry and put them in the hood.
No,
because you're looking for disaster, and it happens in Illinois on a regular basis.
Yeah,
you
as
take
it does
Mayberry cops, and you put them in Inglewood, and it's like, yeah, this is your beat. No. For example, and it's just how I feel that law enforcement officers, before they ever get on the street, should have to work inside the jails, inside the prisons, excuse me.
Yep.
I know some states do. I think Alaska does it. Parts of California does it. Not California. Parts of California does it. And that's all I can think of at the top of my head right now, the two places that do it. But it's like, before you're a beat cop, let me put you in the prison system. And the reason why is that most prison systems don't allow you to carry weapons. So you have to be surrounded by the most violent criminals and not carry a weapon, which means what just became your first weapon now? So now if I teach you to use your brain in the worst scenario possible, when I put you on the street, how much more of an effective law enforcement officer can you be? I feel that way. And I'm always going to feel that way. You know, conversations I had with police officers were, hey, why are you guys cross-drawing to grab your tasers? In my mind, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So now you have a thing called a capture error, where something that you're used to doing is what you think you're doing, but you're not doing it.
You mean taser situation?
Yes. So what happens is something that you were trained to do, but you don't practice, is now something that you are expected to do under pressure, which is why we get into the whole thing when we train and we teach about pressure testing. Okay. So now you have, and this is the perfect example I've always told people, renting a car. Okay. So for me, I drive a GMC Yukon XL. Okay. My gear shift is here. When I rent a car, sometimes I have the gear shift in the middle. But when I get inside the car, the first thing I do is go, oh, that's right. That's not the thing. It's over here. Okay. So now it becomes, this is what I'm used to. This is what I practice. So now under a violent situation or a stressful situation, we'll say, I'm expecting you to use your training on something you've only done once or twice. So there was an example of a woman, I think it was last year, the year before last, traffic stop. Okay. And they pulled the gentleman over, and it was like license, registration, proof of insurance. And the cop had it in her hand, in her left hand. Her taser is on her left side. So what happens is the situation happens where now the cop and the suspect are tussling. He gets in the car to try to hurry up and drives off, and she screams, taser, taser, taser,
taser. Yep.
Now people are like, oh, well, she did it on purpose, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look at her left hand.
Mm-hmm.
Her left hand never dropped that piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
So in her mind, this was a taser
Mm-hmm.
because this was not done.
Mm-hmm.
But this had such a solid grip. This is what she practiced more. But she was also an instructor. So now you're dealing with the fact that most people who instruct don't train.
They have a training
as
deficiency.
much as they teach.
Yep.
So now you have this situation where I'm like, yo, I can prove scientifically this is what happened. But no one wants to hear that.
No.
They saw a white cop shoot a black person. No one wants to hear the science behind what just happened. All they hear is this is racial, black, white, orange, Puerto Rican, Haitian. It's that. But it's not. It's a literal training error because it's a skill that's trained, or excuse me, it's a skill that's taught, but not trained.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a person who carries a firearm at different angles.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my students, hey, before you leave the house, get dressed because I don't want you to go outside naked. Make sure you're dressed, put on your holster, put on your firearm, make sure your firearm is empty, and train in the mirror for at least 3 minutes.
Yep.
Train in the mirror for 3 minutes on your draw. And if you practice that every day, if you're not wearing the same clothing, you just trained based on what you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now you have this mindset. That's 2-3 minutes out of your time of just drawing, just drawing, whatever it is. Practice it 2 to 3 minutes before you leave the house. So now you know what you're going to do if something's going to happen. Because you are going to reduce yourself to the highest level of training. A lot of people say lowest. It's not the lowest because the last thing you were taught is at the top of your head right now. It's in the front of your head. Okay? So everyone says it's your lowest level. No, it's not. It's your highest level because it was the last thing you remember. No one trains on the first thing they learned.
No.
You get up and walk every day.
You get good at what you practice and what you like to do because you're more likely to practice the stuff that you like. Thus, the basis of preferences.
So it's just, again, instructors teaching, okay, based off what they think is correct, not scientifically proven. It's scientifically proven that if you do something for 15 minutes a day, every day, you can become unconsciously competent in doing that activity. And
that's the point of like talking about you don't need to see. It's feel. Circling back to us playing and our bladed dance at Water and Steel, I didn't need to see what you're doing. I could feel what you're doing because both of us have trained enough reps, even though we're two different energies, never touched hands with each other, but we have trained in the same similar modalities, similar skill sets that we're able to feel our way through the flow and figure it out. And it didn't end up being this janky, spazzy thing. It was fun because we could feel our way through it. But that comes from experience and training and discipline.
Even the ability to switch hands with the knife.
Yeah.
We was going right to right, and then all of a sudden we switch over left to left, left to left, and then we just kept switching and flowing.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I'm using my left hand now. You should do it too. We naturally flipped. Why? Because we understood. We trained what we're doing. And the whole thing is that, like I said, to be taught something and not train it, you're already setting yourself up for failure.
That is correct. This is why I'm a big proponent for coaches who still spar, because obviously if you're physically incapable of doing it due to age, injury, and you're sparring against people half your age and far more physically capable, that's fair, but you should still be able to try to hang and bang as much as you can. It may not look as great, but you're still putting in the resistant reps against intentional application of violence.
Yep.
And
that's what's necessary.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's necessary for the continual growth of the instructor, building the bond with their students and athlete base, and that trust that, like, hey, they actually are doing what they preached. and it doesn't lead into this like cult of personality situation or this training error situation of like, well, I can explain it, been there, done that, rely on what I'm saying, but I can't physically pull it off under minimal stress, let alone higher stress. And what it really boils down to is two things: one, ego; two, discipline. Because you have to have the discipline to get past the ego, and you have to have the discipline to actually engage in the difficult parts. And that takes work. And that's a dirty 4-letter word that people dislike to associate. But to get good at anything, like describing your long list of accomplishments, that took a whole lot of work, whole lot of time and dedication, whole lot of passion, a whole lot of purposes to the reasons why you do what you do and why you love it.
And that word, that 4-letter word, that with, I'm just kidding. Luck is one of those, and I even like joking around playing Call of Duty with some of my buddies. I literally said, you only got to get lucky once. You only got to get lucky once. And that's on both sides of the equation, though. That the bad guy only got to get lucky once. The good guy got to get lucky once. I was told that before, too. Well, you should never address people as good guys and bad guys. Why not?
Yeah.
You think if I see you as a good guy and all of a sudden you're a threat, I'm going to forget that you were once a good guy?
Yeah.
No, you just changed your label, not me. I tell everyone the same thing. You have a 950 credit score with me. You determine the depreciation of your credit score. That's your fault. Yes, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it for the rest of my life. Yes, there are good and bad people. There are good and bad guys. Yes, there are. You label them the way you see them. Until that good person becomes a bad person, that person's still a good guy. I'm not gonna change how I deal with you in a violent situation because I once called you a good guy.
No.
I'm not gonna freeze and be like, oh my God, the good guy's now a bad guy. Because no matter what, you're still human. Humans still have good and bad in them. But I'm not going to deter that you might have some bad in you because you're a good guy. I think it was, and again, I don't know if it was his quote, but he definitely said it. Oh my God, he's going to kick my ass. Oh my God, he was a commandant of the Marine Corps. Oh my God, how did I forget this man? This dude is like the most amazing man ever, and I just lost him.
Talk about Mattis?
It was right in my head right now, his name, and I totally lost it. But it was General Mathis. Woo, thank God. Okay. He said...
Army guy knew that one.
Exactly. So, hey, dude, I got a lot of shit in my head. Let me go. So,
that's fair.
Number 3, S-bomb. Okay. So I'm keeping count of how many times I'm cursing. All right. So, General Mathis, he said, be kind, be nice, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
Yes. So
why can't I be that gummy bear, that teddy bear? But no matter what is after both of those adjectives? Bear. So don't forget the bear is still there. It's a teddy bear. It's a gummy bear. But there's still a bear in there. But it's up to you for the sweet side, the soft side, and the one that has the big ass claw that's going to come out, grab your whole face, maybe put your head up against the wall and drag it against it. One of my favorite moves I used to do when I was a bouncer. Loved it. The brawly is what I used to call it, because brawly used to always grab people's heads and drag it across the wall real fast. I thought it was fun. But it's literally that. Why do you let a term determine how you interact with a person?
Yeah.
And it's like, literally, why do we get hung up on terms rather than behaviors?
Yep.
I prefer behaviors. We've been fighting a race war for years now, and a lot of it is from the outside.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like how we deal with politics. Well, the left wing and right wing. Well, you forget one thing. It's the same damn bird.
One butt cheek, two butt cheek. We're getting shit on the center.
Exactly. So when it comes down to behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we should focus on when it comes to people. And I feel that as instructors, we teach behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
We teach mannerisms. We teach mentalities. We teach mindsets. We teach these things. But are our students embracing what we're teaching?
Yeah.
Are they going home and doing these same practices? Like one thing I remember when I used to teach martial arts was I had a mother tell me, "Oh my God, my son is so disciplined when he's here."
Mm-hmm. Why is he not disciplined at home? Mm-hmm.
And that's what made me stop being an instructor. Just like that.
Yep.
I was like, nope, can't do this anymore.
My job is not to discipline your children. My job is to teach your children the particular skill sets of the contract that we established.
And don't get me wrong, martial arts does instill discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it assists with the discipline you're teaching at home,
all the better.
But don't depend on me to discipline your child.
Because they're not my children. It's
They're
not my responsibility.
I elbow my kids and I'll be like, what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. So I just feel that's why I say for me, I'm just not a martial artist. Because I don't see it the same way as what I remember reading when I was a kid or seeing when I was a kid. Like we used to watch the 36 Chambers and the 5 Deadly Venoms.
Drops of Wu-Tang.
All the Wu-Tang, baby, all that stuff. All that's you used to watch these guys humble, walking down the street. No problem. Don't know where. Then all of a sudden, dude throw a punch. That was the fight. But no matter what, that hero was not walking around with the arrogance that he can whoop everyone's behind.
Yeah, because at some point somebody's going to come a calling because there's always a bigger fish.
And that's all it was. It's like, what humility do you have as this person of war? And that's why it's just that it becomes that whole, what are you doing and why are you doing it?
Yep.
Well, I'm a combat veteran. That's why I teach. So what training course did you take to become an instructor after you were a combat veteran?
Probably nothing.
So I'm not taking away from what you've done in theater. I'm not taking away from that. But are you teaching based on how you were taught? Which, if you've been in the military,
there's some training deficiencies there and delivery methods.
Right, because the training in the military is
by volume.
The training isn't
long-term development. It's not about mastery. It's about proficiency.
How fast can I get your ass on the battlefield? That's
true. That's correct.
So that's why being an instructor is like so important of a job that people just don't get it. It's not about the certification that made you this instructor. What is your why? If your why is money, it's going to show in your training.
Yep.
It's going to show in your training in some way, shape, or form. That's how I feel. Can I be wrong? Yes. I'm human. To be human is to error.
Yep.
Okay, I can be wrong, but that's just how I feel. If this is something you're not passionate about, it's going to show. You see it in Dr. Worden. You see it in people like Jeff Johnsgard. You see it in people like
Belton.
Oh my God, Belton. Belton has such a passion for this shit. This man travels all over the world.
He's a busy man.
Yeah, and that's the same way I feel about Jeff Johnsgard. Jeff Johnsgard is, like, in my opinion, the uttermost authority in thinking.
Oh, yeah.
In critical thinking, the man is a beast. He can whoop a person's ass, though. Don't get it twisted.
Oh, yeah.
The man can shoot, but his ability to critical think and evaluate and teach based on each individual person he meets, Lord have mercy, there's no one better, in my opinion.
Yep.
Okay. I think I take that back. Ken Murray is also very great, but he's also the person who trains Jeff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have, like, in my opinion, Jeff Johnsgard was surrounded by some of the most intelligent people with military and strategic mindsets.
Mhm.
You know, you got Ken Murray, you got Datu Kelly S. Worden. You got people that literally are some of the baddest people in the game, but you will never know it by the way they act.
Yep. And it's the thing about, again, perception, presentation, and purpose behind all that. So, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is where, like, the point that I'm at now is I don't need to throw my long list of stuff out there, because I'm of the opinion that, because I'm not doing this for a living, for one, I don't have to. I'm doing this because I still love it in a different format. This is where my description of what I do is I do stuff. And I always bring it up, but that's why I use this thing. Because I can talk about stuff. Because having done some stuff, I can talk about it intelligently, but do it in such a disarming method and platform that people don't get hung up on the merit badges of life before. Because, I mean, what are we relying on? Are we relying on the merit badges, or are we relying on the methodology of conveying information? And the capability is what brings in the center, but there's a lot of people who just paper hang, and there's a lot of people who bang, and there's not enough people that are like master instructors. And that comes from the balance, and also just surrendering the ego of not being too concerned about what they learned 30 years ago, and here's my certificate by this dude from whoever long ago, because they continue to grow. Because this is an issue about preservation versus innovation, or living in the tradition. Because preservation is about a stagnant point in time, a curriculum, a means, a method, and that is something for antiquity, and that is something for like maintaining a specific tradition, look, feel, and style, which has its place, but it's more of a anthropological, intellectual standpoint. Then you have the living tradition of you're innovating. You're taking in regard and respect to what came before that basis, but you're contextualizing it for the modern intention, modern needs, and it's continuously growing. Because again, stagnation is death, leads to obliteration and obscurity. So you got to keep working at it. You got to keep progressing, and that's an individual thing. That takes a lot of work on self to do the work physically and intellectually.
And that's the thing, self. How much do you know about yourself that you know that certain things you should not be doing? And one of them is instructing. I'm sorry. If you know enough about yourself to realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't be teaching this, I can respect that and teach you how to teach it.
That's why I don't teach firearms in an official capacity.
That's why I don't teach firearms yet.
Yes. The level of firearms that I deal with within my small circle is the fact that we grapple a lot and we carry them. So what's the concern about how do we retain them? My instruction is limited to that because that's the care and concern and knowledge set that I have. Sitting there talking about tactics on a flat range, there's a million people out there that can do that a whole lot better than I can. But within my circle, our concern is, I mean, there's a lot of people in the industry. I be not one of them. My standpoint is, my concern is we carry guns and knives because we do here in Alaska, and if we're going to be operational in that regard to have these things, we need to be able to retain them. So that is the extent of which I teach outwardly within my very small circle, not for profit, but for proficiency, hopefully leading to perfection. But I am not qualified to teach all the other stuff. Therefore, I don't. Yet, yes.
Yeah, and that's, again, mindset and conversation. I believe that there's always a yet.
Yes.
If it's something you're really interested in doing, you're going to do it. It's just maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but if you're really passionate about it, you will do it. You know, and that's why even though we're talking, when I did the demonstration at the camp, I took everything we learned that whole week, those 3 days, and made that into my presentation for 5 minutes.
Yep.
And it was based on weapon retention.
Yep.
Something we weren't discussing the whole weekend. But weapon retention makes sense to me. Yes, I love this whole grapple thing and we're pummeling and everything else. I don't want to be next to you.
No.
I have a firearm on me. I don't want to touch you. I don't want to be next to you. I don't want to play patty cake. I don't want to knife. Jab. I don't want to do nothing with you. I don't want to be next to you with a firearm, a knife, a pencil, a pen, a small child, a belt, a shoestring. I don't want to be next to you at all. A rubber chicken, because again, you get smacked the right way, get hit in the corner, it's a bad deal. But it's literally why? What is your why? What are you teaching and why are you doing it? It's because if it's near and dear to you, you can talk about anything. But if you're not passionate about it, you're going to read to me. I don't want to be read to. I want to be taught. I can read documentation my damn self. You know, again, people talk better about what they're passionate about. It's like telling a kid to go do a paper on Albert Einstein. All they're going to do is look at a whole bunch of sources and write from the sources they see.
Yep.
But if I say, tell me something about, give me a paper on Dragon Ball Z.
Got 5 minutes.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But it's about that personal interest. Now, I'm not saying that if you're not interested, you can't learn it.
Yeah.
To be proficient in it, sure. But I'm going to see that you're more disinterested in this than I am. And your job is to always make me interested. That's how I feel as a student. Your job is to make me interested in what you're teaching because I'm coming here to learn from you. And if you're bored with it, why am I in this class?
Yep.
I want to be in a class because I want to be in a class, not because I have to be.
And that's reasons why I want to be a student again. That's reasons why I'm going underneath the curriculum of the Tablata Balintawak Eskrima system is because I want to learn it. It's interesting to me. I want to do that. I want to participate in the NSI community and learn what they have to offer because I enjoy the level of intellect that's there. I want to. I don't want to train fighters anymore. I do not want to train other people's children any longer. So I don't do that. But what I want to do is the stuff that makes me happy because I'm more likely to go do it. And but the caveat that I run into was tricky for me is when I present stuff that I know about and I'm trying to understand and trying to contextualize from like deprogramming and debugging, it gets a little messy because I haven't gotten the answers yet. And this is where like when I present mindsets of violence, like criminal creativity, I'm still trying to work my way through it from a point of trauma and to a point of intellect and fact. And it's still a transition. So,
right. Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be a transition until you so I would not say get over it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not that you will get over it. It's until you absorb it and you make it a part of who you are. It doesn't define you though.
That's
you know
correct.
What I mean?
That's correct.
You know, it's almost like how we talk about violence. Okay. Just because you use violence once doesn't make you a violent person.
Yeah.
No more than the first time you put up a picture didn't make you a carpenter.
No.
You know, and I feel like because of, again, words have power, people see violence and violent behavior as wrong when we use it, it's a tool. No one gets mad at the dog trained to defend the family until that dog bites one of the family members.
Yep. But
you trained it to bite. Because again, something that I had discussion with another individual was you train a dog to bite. No, you don't. You train a dog not to bite. You train a dog when to bite. But you don't train a dog to bite.
Because they already know to do that. They already know to do that.
I'm like, think about the fact that a person, I'm not going to say if you was raised in a good or bad household, but every person knows that murder is wrong.
Yeah.
You know murder is wrong, but people still choose to do it. That's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That dog doesn't choose to bite someone if that dog is being kicked, because there are dogs who can literally be kicked and never ever once get violent or bite. They cower because they're trained to be weak by doing that type of stuff. But again, when we're talking about the German shepherds and the protectors and all, you're trained. There's a thing called bite training.
Yep.
Why would there be a thing called bite training if dogs didn't already know how to bite?
Because you have to contextualize it for the situation that is required.
So I have to make it sound good for everybody else so that it's allowed and it's okay.
Yep.
I want you to imagine that. So for me to do my job that requires me to train an animal to be defensive, I have to articulate to you that I'm training them to be defensive. But now the government is actually trying to pass a bill.
The paramilitary bill?
Thank you, bruh. You're trying to pass a bill to stop people from training with their firearms.
To include, subsection of it, survival training, so camping, martial arts, combat sports, because all that ties into the industry. And to further along with it, because one can make an intellectual leap, physical fitness, because it's all part of the industry. It's all part of the basis of it.
But this is the society we live in, is that we have to make something sound good. Like, for example, and I have nothing against Tim Kennedy.
Yeah.
You think sheepdog was made on purpose with the word sheepdog? Yes, we've heard the term sheepdog, sheepdog, sheepdog. But no matter what is that sheepdog doing?
It's going out and protecting and putting in work. It's
putting in work to protect the flock. But you don't want me with a firearm. You don't want me with a knife. You feel that your safety is based on disarming the community.
When the fact is, the criminals don't give a shit about that. They're going to do criminal stuff.
So that's why I say for you, when you talk about that criminal, embrace that shit. Yeah. Embrace it. Why? Because that is true. Yes, you're teaching the criminal mindset in your teachings. Yes, embrace it. Why? Because criminals ain't stopping going, man, listen, I don't like all this sheepdog stuff, man, because it's empowering people to want to stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
Then why take away that criminal side that you're trying to teach? Because criminals ain't going to care about, oh, well, sheepdog is teaching them how to defend themselves. I don't want to be a criminal no more. Well, shit. If I want, that's number 4. So if I want to sit here and fight against criminals, why am I not going to learn from criminal behavior? I'm sorry. That's how you learn violence. You learn violence from violent people. And no one can teach you more violence than a person who understands violence. You know, there's videos on shankings inside of prison. Think about it this way. The answer to stop the world from gun violence is to remove guns from the world. But in prison, you can make a gun, make a shank, and still do drugs in the most secure facility created. Sounds
like some very creative people.
Or complete utter dumbasses.
There's that too.
Yeah, because again, that's what you're. But think about it. Like I said, it's all in the verbiage. Illinois, we passed this assault weapons ban. You know, because we're tired of all the shootings in Illinois. No, you got tired of one shooting. Highland Park. Highland Park is a white, predominantly white neighborhood where Ferris Bueller Day Off and 16 Candles was filmed. You had one incident that involved multiple people getting hurt and shot. I think there was some casualties too.
But they don't talk about hood rat. They don't talk about the hood.
Exactly. So you made a whole law because of one Highland Park, when in Chicago, one weekend is 4 Highland Parks. But everyone who championed the bill were from impoverished neighborhoods. But the crime didn't stop in Chicago.
No.
It got worse in Chicago.
Yeah.
So again, no matter how you try to prove a point that we, law-abiding citizens, aren't your problem, you make stricter laws for us not to protect ourselves.
Yep.
And now we as instructors are now fighting a fight with our hands tied behind our back. Because the best weapon for you might be against the law now.
Which is interesting because this ties into social cultural evolution, social cultural theory. So I use 2 pyramids, okay, and you have an apex between or intersection between the 2, and that is the divide from structured culture. I should say, larger post-industrial culture where you have a higher level of governance due to a litigious society that's relatively safe. When you were on the frontier, violence was common. Proficiency at violence was necessary and common amongst the entire social populace because you had to fight against wild animals, wild peoples, bandits, criminals, all those things. You had to deal with it. And it was part of the societal structure of necessity because it's just life. That was the point of experience. When we became more of a less frontier, more structured urban society, we have a larger basis of safety. We have a larger basis of population that is cohabitating together. We outsourced our safety and protection to a specific subsection of society and culture, and for the greater good of the rest, for the safety of the rest. And it's by the privilege of that society that they have that safety or the privilege to allow that to occur. But that small section that they outsource their safety and protection is your military, your police, but it's also that subsection that is damned because we live in a free, protected, safe society. But there's a disconnect as to what is required to maintain that free, liberal, protected, safe society. And that comes from that accountability of not knowing. You have to have you have to have the expectation, understanding, and trust and respect for violence and its usage. But that comes from it being common, not saying that everybody has to go out and murder some people, but they have to understand violence is a real thing and the accountability of being able to execute and utilize it because they see it, feel it, know it, and deal with it because they're introduced to it. They're educated by it is the big thing. And the safe society is very ignorant about it because it's not part of their modern common lexicon. Again, the primary thing to remove ignorance and fear is to be educated, is to have the experiences. Again, going back to shared suffering and breaking down barriers from the military and racism, is as you got to know each other, the barriers started to break apart. You got more knowledge, got more wisdom, got to know more truths. And there was a homeostasis of, hey, we're common. We get it. We're educated. There's no longer fear structure. And there was a common base of respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But society, when they still outsource it to a very specific section of the community that's saying that's their job and that's all they can do and that's all we want them to do, and it comes from that point of privilege, it's like you got to respect who's going to protect you. You got to honor those who's going to protect you, not worship them, but honor them. And this again goes back to that healing the warrior coming back from war. You have to respect them and love them enough to saying, hey, thank you for what you do. Thank you for going and do these things. We're not going to worship you for it because that creates a cult of personality and a demagogue. But we have to respect what you did for the benefit of the whole. Also with the respect that we, the whole, may have to go do the same thing someday, or may have done that at some point. And that creates that basis of respect and commonality because of an experienced, educated society.
Yep. Which goes back to common sense
Mm-hmm.
and common knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The only way common sense works.
Mm-hmm.
Because common sense without common knowledge on a subject matter, what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm. And this is that. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, and I was just going to say, just back to your point, that's literally what we're dealing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that people without common sense make rules and regulations for common people by tricking common people to believing that I'm smarter than you and I know what's best for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're supposed to do as parents, and that's supposed to do it as, you know, government, but that's, you know, there. But that's literally how things are now, is that we went from let's be independent free thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, anyone can say what they want to say about the Woodstock folks, minus the whole protests against the war, but that's something different. But enlightened people understand more stuff than people who with a dim light.
Because they're educated and they have an opinion that's informed based on their education experience.
Yep. And they're not just saying something that they saw on social media or heard on the news.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, unfortunately, we went to this society of holding a smartphone and becoming dumber.
Yeah.
You know, like I look at like people who text, okay? You're texting in hieroglyphics now.
Mm-hmm.
You're sending emojis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or you see people who send a text and it's like letter word.
Mm-hmm.
Your smartphone is purposely trying to make a word out of those letters.
Yeah.
And you're purposely telling the phone to be dumb.
Yep. Because of saving time, because we are lazy.
So you purposely are putting letters
mm-hmm.
like you instead of YOU.
Mm-hmm. You're
literally on purpose telling the phone disregard every other word that involve this word, but use only this letter.
And it goes back to this idea of just. We've talked a lot about this. We've talked a lot in this podcast about racial social issues, mm-hmm. which is important because this podcast is more than martial arts, more than violence, more than all stuff. Like FMA isn't just specific Filipino martial arts. And we talk about fantastic martial arts, phenomenal martial arts. It's all these things. But again, it's more than just, because we talk about the crab mentality. The crab mentality limits us to just. We're just black. We're just brown. We're just Americans. We're just poor. We're just criminals. That word just is, one, it's imposed by society, mm-hmm. but it's also accepted by the individual to say that this is all that we can be because we're just this. There's a poem that I recently read in one of my classes about, the basic premise is, I did not realize I was poor until you told me. I didn't realize that I was primitive until you said so. I didn't realize I was miserable until I was instructed about misery. It's that whole thing. And the last line is, I'm more than just. And that is, we have to advocate for ourselves. And we got to be more than that. And again, it's that crab pot mentality. It's that get out of the ghetto mentality, get out of the trailer park mentality. We have to advocate to become more than. And this is the way we do it, is through education, knowledge of power, experience, good, bad, and otherwise, but facing adversity so we can be more than just what we were, or just what society expects us, or just what society tells us we are. Because my life, my experience, my well-being, my enlightenment is my own. I'm not going to allow another person or an entity to tell me otherwise.
Or to dim your life.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And this is scary.
It really is. And this is the reasons why we need to have these kind of conversations. There's the reasons why we need to have the conversations with people who have these experiences, good, bad, and otherwise. And there's the reasons why we need to train these things and live in these experiences so we don't keep repeating the same cycles of violence, trauma, and stratification and social inequity that can lead into tyranny and oppression.
Yep. And unfortunately, I think you already said repeating the cycle, where a lot of people just end up trauma bonded. So, and again, it sounds funny, but hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, we know our own. We know. It's taken me a long time, and it's not done. It's continual work of I know my own, having lived and done that. And this is where this podcast is actually monumentally important for that recovery process of I can move beyond that victim state and that trauma-induced state and be post-traumatic growth and that growth mindset. Because trauma bonding forces you to stay in that spot.
No growth. And it goes back to what you already said. I'm more than just. Yep. I'm not just a veteran. I'm not just a former active duty Marine. I'm not just an instructor. I was something before all of this, and that person is always going to be chipping and molding to a better person each day. Because unfortunately, I feel like your only competition is you who you were yesterday.
Yes.
I've literally had to explain this to other people. You're my competition. I've never saw you as my competition.
No.
I've never once saw you as my competition. I don't give a damn. We do the same exact thing. You're not my competition. We learn from each other and we grow together. Don't get me wrong. You can't put two trees in the same plot.
No.
You can space those trees apart and we can still grow, and we both can get the same amount of sunlight, the same amount of water, and the same amount of soil without competing for the space.
Yeah.
But we're both trees.
Yep.
Mountains don't look at each other and say, hey, you know what? I need you to scoot over a little bit. Mountains are mountains.
They just exist.
They just exist. And as people, that's what we need to remember. We exist. But why do you exist? Do you exist to be better and to make everything around you better, if you possibly can? Or are you that same doom and gloom person as you see and hear and read about on we like to call it the interwebs and the book of faces and the grams of Insta? We didn't have, let me phrase this correctly. The issue we have with image wasn't as bad when it was just in magazines that had to be bought. And I'm going to say that one more time. The image, the problem with image that we have now wasn't as bad when you had to go buy the magazine. Yeah.
We had a certain level of independence and confidence because we weren't consistently interjected and controlled by this thing. And now I'm saying this while we're on the internet with these things.
Right. But we're not presenting the newest makeup.
No.
The newest shirt you should wear so that you look bigger and more masculine. Or the surgery is going to make you the better person you need to be. Now, because we have this stuff, it becomes something that Congress needs to pass so kids aren't exposed to it. You're a parent.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah.
Your job is not to have your kid exposed to this. Like you said, I didn't know misery until I was instructed. Well, you don't know you're ugly until someone tells you. But that person's words can have that much weight on you to make you change. That you feel you need to find out what beauty was or is because someone had to tell you that you were ugly.
Yep. And
someone has to tell you that you're fat, that you're this, that you're that. Someone has to tell you this stuff. Because think about it. We teach kids to lie.
Yeah, we do.
we teach kids a lot. Because if you're in the grocery store and your kid is in that stroller or that shopping cart, and your kid points to that person and say, hey, that person's hair is ugly or disheveled, or I doubt if a kid says disheveled. Their hair is messy. Well, if I look over there and that person's hair looks like they just woke up, rolled out of bed, and came to the grocery store, this kid is 100% correct. But no, shh. You don't say that about people. True. We don't say that about people out loud. And your opinion is your own. But whenever my words can alter your mood, is that a you problem or a me problem?
Accountability of both, honestly. Because you only give power and authority to what you will. This is the reason why spells, prayers have power and meaning, because we allow them to have power and meaning. So that's an independent, individual thing of our resiliency is based upon that. And again, going back to words and meaning, we can only just be the brown man, in other words, if we allow that to give power and prominence. So funny story, my call sign whilst in the Army, and just a nickname I've had for years, was the angry brown man. Because I was angry, projected all that, just straight up aggro, and just that's how miserable of a person I was. Projecting all that because all these things. Having since learned better, gone through a whole lot of things, and gone through some better education and training for growth mindset, health, and mental health, I've changed that nickname to the mighty brown man, because it took a mighty man, a mighty effort to become this. And that's that change of mindset of not allowing the word angry to control me.
Or
define me. So
I wish we had more of that. I really do. I wish we had more people who understand that only you can define you by your own actions. But we don't teach that.
No, because the other one too is it costs you nothing to be empathetic. It costs you nothing to be compassionate. It costs you nothing to be kind. However, all those are considered to be weak and submissive, and therefore they're dismissed, because we have this projection of ego, anger, and fear, because we're afraid if we're compassionate, empathetic, and kind, we're perceived to be these things. And again, going back to the strength of a person who's been there, done that, the strength of somebody who's compassionate and doesn't care, is because they've taken upon themselves not to allow that to take control and prominence. Those who know violence have a certain level of confidence, especially in that great mindset, that they don't need to project that out upon the world, because they're going to.
Well, I said we have to sit and talk, because that's that competence confidence model. The more competent I am in something, the more confident I am. The more confident I am, the more competent. It goes into that. And I love something you just said about it doesn't cost nothing to be good, be nice. Gym reference. I literally, before I got my own spray bottle, time I go to the gym, I take a spray bottle and I take one of their towels. I spray, I wipe it down, I use it, and I spray and wipe it down again after I use it.
It's good etiquette.
My workouts take so much more time because of how much wiping and cleaning I do before and after I lift. And I think about it like, if I went in here and just did my workout, I could probably save at least 30 minutes.
Probably.
But I'm hoping that when people see me doing this, that you also in kind will start doing it, because, not to be funny, not to be mean, I never caught COVID. My wife caught COVID. I cared for her while she was sick. Never caught COVID. Never, ever caught it. So to help that, and I rarely get sick. And part of it is because of my other profession, which is what I told you, personal protection. So I'm hired to literally protect people. So I can't get sick. So I'm that person who wipes everything down to make sure I don't get sick. I'm taking my vitamins or my vitamins, how people want to say it. I'm doing all of that because I care about what's around me. If I'm sick, my wife has to take care of me. If I'm sick, my wife got to take care of me and just got to take off of work, and that's going to put a hindrance on her. I don't want to do that. Okay. Some of my clients, they call me randomly. Hey, I'm coming into town. I need you to drive me around XYZ. Oh man, I'm not feeling well, so I can't hook you up.
Yeah.
I care enough about people around me to stay healthy, to not get sick.
That's that why, and that's the work.
Exactly. The why and the work. And again, I will never let anyone define me as lazy.
Yeah.
As ignorant.
Yeah.
As careless or non-caring. Because I give a damn. I don't have to walk around and scream to everybody that I give a damn, but I prefer actions over words. Like it amazes me. I'm trying to think of the politically correct way to say this. It amazes me how people think change comes through ignorance.
Yeah.
Let me do something completely ignorant and it's going to make people do what I want them to do. Okay. So you don't think it's going to piss other people off? You think it's going to change their mind because you do something ignorant? Like I love protests when they're protests. When they're real protests. Okay. I love protests when they're real protests. Anything else, I'm like, don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Let's be careful.
You're there for the Instagram.
Right. You're there for the Instagram. You got to take this quick picture to make sure everything is good. Okay.
Because you're an ally. I hate that phrase, but
we're not going to go there because, again, I don't want you to destroy your podcast. But it's like, don't impede your will upon me. Just do you and let me be.
Yep.
That's how I'm going to always feel. Yep. Do you. I'm going to do me. But I'm not going to impose my will upon you no more than I expect you to impose your will upon me.
Because that's the thing about free agency and liberty. If we want to exude our free agency and be liberty-minded individuals, we do not need to stifle and force people to submit to our free agency and our liberty. It doesn't work that way.
And unfortunately, that's not the times we live in.
No, it's not. It's really not. But fortunately, we have these beacons of hope of people presenting, leading by example, and putting in the work, because the reasons why are far more powerful and important than the reasons why of those who are forcing this opposition, this oppression, this tyranny.
Yep. Hopefully, yes.
well, my friend, I got the 15-minute mark. So, do you have anything you want to put out that we can close up with?
I will say this. Of course, I already said it early. Be better than you were yesterday.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Just be better than you were yesterday. Of course, I have all the social media. I think Kurt put everything out there where you can find me, how to contact me, everything else. I don't like beating dead horses. Yes, I'm out there. Name of the company is P6 Firearms Training. I train in firearms as well as edge weapons. If you're looking for your concealed carry, that's great. I do that for Illinois, Utah, and Florida. If you're looking for education as well as firearm training, that we also offer that as well. We do a multitude of classes outdoors. We do covert carry classes, which is a fancy government word for concealed carry. And we teach you how to draw from concealment and things like that. We also teach you how to run the rifle, the pistol, the shotgun. We do it all. Okay. All we ask is that when you come in, have an open mind and a lot of water. Readily available.
Sweat equity.
Yes, sweat equity and water. Got to have some water too.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate I've been borrowing this phrase because it's a beautiful phrase that John's guard said at Water and Steel. But thank you for the gift. Yeah. Thank you for the gift of your time.
Oh.
And the same for everybody who hung out with us today, who are going to see this wherever it's going to be seen. Thank you for the gift of your time. This has been a great conversation with an amazing human being, and I'm very blessed to say that you're my friend. So thank you.
And my brother.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to do a long outro because I don't want to. So, everybody, I'll see you later.
All right.
Late.